Patty, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. I can hear you. Appreciate it.
Cool.
I hope you had a nice weekend.
Thank you. I did.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Hi, Christina. We can hear you.
Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everyone. So you're really only focused on this half of the table. That half is virtual. Hans is running late, so he's stuck in traffic. He will be here as soon as he can be. But we are going to go ahead and get started. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. So if everybody could please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we start. We do have members that are attending virtually. So for board members that are in person, this half of the table, there are microphones directly in front of you. When they are red, the mic is not live. Please click on the mic when you would like to speak. The mic will turn green and then you can speak. Once you are done, please make sure your mic is turned off. For our members that are participating via Zoom, this half of the table, please stay on mute. If you would like to speak, please push the hand icon to indicate that you would like to speak. This will help me know that you want to speak, and then hopefully, if I don't see it, somebody will let me know. I will make sure that you have an opportunity. For charters and applicants on the agenda that are participating via Zoom, please stay muted until your item is called. Once your item is called, board staff will introduce the item, and then I will call on you to address the board. At that time, you may unmute yourself. For charters or applicants on the agenda participating in person, once your item is called, board staff will provide a brief introduction and answer any questions board members may have for staff. Then I will request that the representatives for the charter come up to the podium and address the board. Hi, Hans.
Good morning. Would you roll call?
Yeah, you snuck right in at roll call. Ashley, can we get a roll call, please?
President Montier,
Present.
Vice President Close,
Remarkably, here.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Here.
Miss Barr,
Here.
Dr. Crockett,
Here.
Miss Foster,
Here.
Miss Jones, Mr. Ruiz, Mr. Snyder,
Yes, here.
Mr. Stratton, Mr. Swanson. With that, you have a quorum.
All right, on to our superintendent's report. Welcome, Ms. Miller.
Good morning, President. Thank you. I hope that all of our dedicated educators had a relaxing holiday weekend and a very successful start of the school year. What a joy that we get a fresh start each year to re-energize, realign, and design the academic path and goals in pursuit of our mission to honor students and families. One measure of last year's success, our state assessment, is available for schools to validate data ahead of the planned release of final letter grades on November 1st. The ADE Accountability and Research Team encourages school leaders and data teams to validate version 2 of the static file using the ADE Connect in their accountability portal. Don't miss this opportunity to review your data against prior year cut scores and check for final errors. The Arizona State Board of Education typically reviews for the new cut scores in September and votes to approve them in late October. The Business Rules Appendix, available on the department's website, offers helpful suggestions for reviewing and validating your data. For additional questions, you may also email achieve@arizonaed.gov. This concludes the Superintendent's September report.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. On to agenda item E, Executive Director's Report with Ashley.
Good morning, President Montiers, Vice President Close, Superintendent Designee Miller, and members. I'd like to provide you with an update on the approvals finalized since our last meeting in June, along with school reviews that have been conducted so far this school year. Since our last board meeting, no additional schools have closed. And Dan, can you switch the slide? Thank you. No schools have decided to close. I have approved 99 amendments since our last meeting. These amendments are more technical in nature, involve updates to charter holder contracts, such as changes to instructional days and governance. Throughout the month of August, board staff typically does not do on-site visits because we know how busy schools are. But we do conduct specialized accountability visits and first-year visits. The board completed 3 on-site visits and 4 first-year school reviews in our first month of school. And then moving on to our board legal actions and updates. As an update, the board issued a notice of intent to revoke the charter of American Virtual Academy on March 4th, 2025, due to failure to meet academic performance expectations. The hearing scheduled for September 8th has been continued with a status update ordered to be submitted to the Office of Administrative Hearings on or before October 20th, 2025. All other legal matters will be addressed during this board meeting, and items have been placed on this agenda for your consideration. And then moving on to the board's budget and budget requests for FY 2027. As an update on our budget, we begin FY 2026 during the most, budget as we begin fiscal year 26. During the most recent legislative session, the state approved full funding for the board and included additional appropriations to account for statewide adjustments. This support ensures the board will be positioned to continue its work without financial disruption. The vast majority of our budget is allocated to employee salaries and employee-related expenditures. And I'm happy to report that our office is currently fully staffed. This enables us to operate at full capacity, and we anticipate increased efficiency in our work, particularly in streamlining internal processes, enhancing communication with stakeholders, and continuing to provide high-quality support and training to our charter schools across the state. Looking ahead, we do not anticipate any large-scale projects in FY 26 or FY 27 that would require additional funding. Our current budget allows us to be responsive to emerging needs, including the ability to contract for specialized services as necessary and to maintain flexibility in operations. Given the solid standing of our current budget and the guidance provided by the state regarding limited available funding in light of revenue projections, the board's budget to the governor's office for FY 2027 did not include a request for additional funds. So in short, we are in a good position. Our budget is sufficient in supporting our ongoing work, maintaining operational agility, and to meet the needs of a board and the charter schools we serve. Any questions on that? Okay, now I get to go to the fun part. So I, along with staff, wanted to update you on what we completed for FY 2025. So this is a year in review as to what we did and what we completed last year. So going to that next slide, this is just in general, what did our performance look like last year? Based off of the letter grades for 2023, 2024, so that's a lagging term, like Superintendent Designee Miller indicated, we will get those additional letter grades from last school year in about a month. But based off of those letter grades, last year, 80% of our schools were A or B letter grade, and we just continue to see our schools increase in that performance. Additionally, 99% of our schools met operational performance standards. 89% met the financial performance standards. This is really good. And most of these metrics continue to improve. We see more and more compliance and improved performance under our frameworks. So going to that next slide. This is just an update on our office operations. So some of the things that we've been working on administratively within our office. So we continue to update our ASBCS online system. As a reminder, that system is our new system that went live a few years ago. This is a completely new system that now houses all of our amendments, all of our data. It's that system that really allows us to communicate to our charters and then update and be transparent to the members of the public. So we continue to take feedback from members of the public and actually employees and staff as well, and continue to make those updates. And that will be an iterative process that we continue going forward. We do not anticipate having dramatic or large changes that need to happen to that system at this time. Additionally, we worked on streamlining our public records process. So this includes our student records that we house for schools that have closed down. Our office does become the custodian of those records. So we do a lot of records requests for student records, and we streamline that process and continue to make that process even work better with the Department of Education. And then we also have worked to improve our process on getting more information from outside agencies about our schools. So that's with the U.S. Department of Ed and the Department of Education and other agencies within the state as well. Additionally, we are always working on trying to improve our internal processes, and this is just for the betterment of the schools that we serve. So we created, and I shouldn't say we, Alyssa created the ongoing review and refinement of process procedures. So that is an internal process that we have put together that allows us to take a more audit approach on the processes that we do have to continue that improvement. So that has been put into place. And then, and this is just a thing that we are constantly doing, but we're trying to be more mindful about the tools that we can use to better leverage data for not only informing our board members, but also informing the public and our work that we do. And then next slide. Okay, so for our customer service and accountability team, this is that team that is like boots on the ground. They're working daily with our schools. They're working on amendments. They're doing really all those daily processes and responsibilities that our charter holders are interacting with. They did, and you all approved, significant changes and updates to the new charter application that reduced administrative burden on the applicants, but also made it more true to what we really care about for applicants, making sure that we truly understood if they are going to be successful in that first or second year of operation. We also saw that because of the changes and because of the clarity in that application, we saw more successful applications getting through that administrative review process. So you will have more coming to you, and we think more quality applications coming to you. Yep. That team is very busy. They completed over 140 on-site visits. Now this is first year regular pop-in visits, specialized accountability. They are constantly looking, and I should say Rachel is constantly looking at ways to better be more efficient about who we are visiting and how we are visiting schools. And so we were able to do 140 on-site visits last year. We have been continually trying to update and improve the amount of trainings that we offer to schools. And this is us making sure that we are informing schools so that they better understand what we are looking for and what our board cares about and what those reviews are going to look like. So we conducted 9 trainings and 145 participants attended those trainings. But that training didn't just end with our external. We have taken a very thoughtful approach at our internal training. So for the customer service and accountability team this past year, they they put an emphasis on customer service and that communication, wanting to make sure that not only are we assisting schools in coming into compliance or appropriately submitting amendments, but also being a thought partner for them and making sure that we can work with schools collaboratively. So improving that quality communication and how we communicate with schools. And then, and as you all know, because you did approve it, we did make updates to the amendment requirements and instructions. And that was solely intended to reduce the administrative burden on charters, so that it was easier for them to submit amendments, and that the information that we provided to you all is truly information that you or I care about as the approvers, right? So again, streamlining that process. And then next slide. And then financial accountability. Many of you took a lot of time in working on updating our financial framework. And that full implementation of the improved financial framework went into effect for the review of FY24 audits. Andrea had 406 audits that she reviewed, and out of those, 89% met the financial expectations. And this is strategic development. So as we have a larger staff, we've had the great opportunity to be able to really focus on strategically thinking about communicating and placing our teams where we could have the most effect. So we've been working on really engaging with the community, and actually Alyssa has been leading that charge with Joanna, and they have had the first Student Advisory Council, which was established. I know you've heard from many of those students, but that is an opportunity for us to hear from students and to hear their voices and what they care about, to make sure that, one, we're able to get information out to them, but also that we're being responsive to their needs as well. And then just increasing our public presence, trying to be more mindful about social media and how we can transfer information. We also have attended quite a few conferences. The ones listed up here were the ones that we did presentations at, but also being present to answer any questions that attendees may have. And then we had our 30-year celebration. Last year, we completed our 30th year of chartering in Arizona. And we were so thankful to be able to celebrate that with the Charter Association. There is a video, so see if we can plan it. But this just goes into a little bit more information about how that 30th year went. Let's hope it works. Okay. I have to say thank you to Joanna for putting that video together. I think it really encompassed, what it meant for 30 years and that celebration that we all did. It's a lot of hard work that went into the last 30 years of charting and where we are today. I think it stands for all the hard work that our team went through and the charters that we serve. And I think with that, that is all that I have to present to you.
Well, congratulations. That was an amazing video. And thank you all for the work that you do. Everybody out here, the work that you do, everybody on the board, the work that you do. This is obviously a village that we have here, and it's pretty amazing. So great job, everyone. Should all give yourself a high five. There you go. All right. On to public comments. So we have quite a lengthy agenda today. And I had 5 people that are all requesting to speak on item I3, Heritage Academy. I have asked, hopefully we can do this. I've asked that we have one person speak on behalf of everyone, since the 5 public comments that I have are all for the same agenda item, and because our agenda is a bit lengthy today. So without further ado, can I have Eric Gettle? Did I say that correctly? Oh, fantastic. Come on up. Welcome. Good morning, sir.
Yes, Eric Gettle, you've got my name correct. President Monteith, our esteemed superintendent delegate, Ms. Miller, and esteemed board members, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak and address you today. I'm here to support and invite your participation to support Heritage Academy's amendment to their charter to allow for increased capacity in the city of Maricopa. I currently serve as a member of the city council, and I'm here just as a representative of myself and the Heritage District per se, not so much in the city capacity. But I would like to just explain a little bit about what's happening inside of the city of Maricopa. We incorporated in 2003, and over the last 21 years, we have grown exponentially. If you've been cognizant of the growth that's been happening south of Phoenix. It is one of the fastest growing cities in the United States. In 2024, our population reached approximately 74,000. We started in our incorporation in 2001 in 2003 with only 1,500 individuals in our community. So from 1,500 to 75,000 in 20 years. On average, we're growing at a rate of about 7.5% each year. We have growth projections by the year 2040, we're looking at over 138,000 residents in our city. Now, obviously, this is a tremendous opportunity and challenge as we continue to build a city out of the desert. One of our greatest needs is educational space. Our current district, the Maricopa Unified School District, serves 8,730 students across their 13 campuses. And they are still shy of adequate classroom space. They had to bring in several portables for 14 additional classrooms this last school year. Recently here in the month of May, they broke ground for an additional K-8 school to help manage some of that growth. But we still need some additional help. We have another 3 charters in the city of Maricopa that provide elementary education. And they are also at capacity with wait lists in all of them. So I am here to petition the board to allow the amendment to happen to their charter for Heritage to be able to offer a K-5 program here in the city of Maricopa. Let's see some other statistics I can share with you here. The MUSD's Chief Financial Officer, Jacob Harmon, recently projected a need for 281 elementary classrooms by 2028. That's a 22% increase from the current 229 the district currently has. And that's just to keep pace with projected growth. Santa Cruz Elementary alone requires 20 additional classrooms, an estimated 10.5 million. Over the next 10 years, assuming a 4%, which I think is conservative annual growth rate, MUSD would need an approximately 50 to 60 additional classrooms just to maintain their current status. This projection accounts for an estimated 2,000 to 3,000 new K-6 students by 2035. It's a remarkable growth. So this is where Heritage Academy will come in. And I'll speak for just a second as a father, if I may. Not only am I a resident of the city of Maricopa, but I'm a father of 5 children. And of our 5 children, we had 5 different differences in how we chose to educate our children, from public school to charter school to ESA grant recipients to homeschool. And that parental choice has been one of the foundational building blocks of our community in the city of Maricopa. It opens up so many opportunities for our families. Heritage Academy brings an unparalleled, in my opinion, quality of product to the city when it comes to education. And we're grateful that they're there and look forward to their continued partnership and all that they bring. So in summary, Maricopa's projected growth, we have about 65,000 residents over the next decade that will be coming into our community. We need more K-6 classrooms. MUSD needs an additional 50 to 60 classrooms by 2035. And Heritage's entry into our community would be a dramatic game changer in enhancing the educational quality and space in our city. So with that, I'm happy to address any questions the board may have for me today. And there are several parents here today that would be interested in sharing some of their personal stories if you would like to hear some of those as well. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. Oh, I just looked up and Ashley was over by the podium. I wasn't sure what was going on. All right. So does board have any questions? I'm sorry for Mr. Gettle. No? Okay. Thank you so much for speaking on behalf of everyone. I appreciate it. We're going to move on to agenda item H, which is our consent agenda. Oh, did I miss G? I'm so sorry. Okay, well, somebody else should probably lead this, not me today. My fault. I'm so sorry. Item G, presentation by the Arizona Charter Schools Association. I'm so sorry.
If that was the worst thing that happened to me today, it'd be a good day.
Well, hopefully it won't.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you very much for having me, Madam President, Superintendent Designee Miller, and board members. We're going to be very brief. It's not lost to me how long your agenda is, and we're going to adhere to Shakespeare's advice that brevity is the soul of wit. So we will be quick, despite our 41 slides you may have seen in the materials. So I promise. Just real quick, thank yous. One, a thank you to you all for your public service and your time on this board. I've been in your shoes. It is a lot. It is demanding. It is those Sunday nights reading materials are a lot, or Monday nights in this case. And so I'm very grateful for your support. My third thank you, in addition to letting us present today, is thank you for your team and the staff. I am beyond blown away by how efficient they are and how good they are. Open to suggestions, and sometimes it's yes and sometimes it's no, but that's okay. They're open to having the dialogue, and Ashley and Rachel and the entire team, I'm consistently impressed with their professionalism and how they work with schools and try to figure stuff out, which isn't always easy. Kelly's going to do most of the presentation today. I'll just tee up three things maybe for you all to think about as Kelly walks through some of the data. Number one is I'm still real bullish on charter schools, as you can imagine, someone in my role would be. But I think there are three things that are still happening in the marketplace today, and a lot of it's a credit to people in this room, the schools, you all, everybody. One is despite significant headwinds, and they're out there, enrollment continues to be strong. You can't pick up a newspaper when there were newspapers or look on social media or whatever without hearing about different schools that have enrollment challenges, and we've got them too. But I think overall as a sector, we're doing something right. Parents continue to look at charter schools as a choice and as something that's attractive to their families. Number two is academics. As you're about ready to hear, Ashley stole our thunder a little bit, but 80% of charter schools, A and B rated schools, is really good. That's as high as it's ever been. And so I think our schools continue to deliver for students and families. It's not a game. It's not a joke. It's something they take really, really seriously, and the data bears it out. We got work to do. It's not a panacea, but whether you're a school that's focusing on super excelling kids or kids that are behind, I'm really proud of how our guides have handled some really challenging times. Number three, and this is harder to quantify, but is the innovation is still there. There's not a bullet you're going to see in Kelly's presentation or a slide, but it's happening every single day. And you're going to hear from some amazing schools today. I know Super Designee Miller and I were chatting the other day about some of the stuff they're doing. It's happening in the marketplace, and it's impressive. And so I know sometimes we're all stuck in kind of the weeds and what's happening and the frustrations. But when you look at the big picture, I'm still extremely bullish on what charters are doing. You all play a vital role in that. And I'm grateful for it. And I'm grateful. And I thought the video was really cool. And I'm grateful for what the next 30 years brings. So with that, a little context to what you're about ready to hear from Kelly. And we're going to go warp speed here. So we're happy to meet with someone afterwards. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, insults, whatever, we'll take them all. Kelly?
Well, if Kelly's coming up, that means it's data. So we'll definitely have to talk after that.
Thank you. Good. Nice to see you all, and welcome to the unofficial start of fall. So it's a dry humor. Next slide, please. I always start with this slide. I'm sorry. I apologize. I think it is important. The next slide will show that when we get there. But our baby bust does continue. This shows birth rate over the last, since 1970. And you can see it's kind of flattened out. It started dropping after the Great Recession, and we're kind of at a high 70s thousand kids being born each year. Of course, we have other sources of enrollment, but the next slide helps to bolster the validity of looking at these trends. This is just taking the grade 1 enrollment information from the National Center for Education Statistics, and overlaying it with the end of that last curve, the birth rate. There is a lag between when a potential student's born and when they hit grade 1 of 6 or 7 years. And if you take out that lag, this is kind of what the overlay looks like. So it follows it pretty closely. It gets a little bit wonky around for those first graders, which would be the COVID years when kids were being redshirted, in kindergarten, and then were coming back really strong in first grade. That's why it kind of bounced around there. But there's a significant relationship between the number of public school students in first grade and the birth rate. And of course, it cuts off there because of the lag in ages. Next slide, please. As Jake mentioned, lots and lots of headlines out there about schools closing and all of that. There's a known pattern of birth rates being different in certain parts of the city. The classic model in the West is the center part of the city has a lower rate, and then it kind of goes out like donuts as you move out towards the suburbs. And you get in the very farthest suburbs or exurbs, perhaps like Maricopa and those areas, that's where the growth is. And we kind of see that too around here. But headlines are out there, hard to miss. Next slide, please. This is a different set of data points. I used the ones that I had available because I wanted to put the number of private school students that are tracked by the National Center for Education Statistics and line it up with our data as well. Our being the charters and the districts, the public school sector, along with the private. So this shows the enrollment since 2000 in a few data points. Unfortunately, the National Center only collects the private school data every 10 years or so. Perhaps if they're in existence, we'll have some in 2030, and we'll see where we're at. But you can see there was a pretty steady rate for the private schools of enrollment. Charters were the increasing ones, and districts had that slow decline with the general trends. Next slide, please. This shows the school count. Interesting story as well. You'll see that charters were going up to match the growth, and then they kind of flattened out. We've been at the same number of schools for a while because we're closing schools. That's, once again, I told you about the whole donut effect of things moving out. As certain parts of the city might not have great number of young folks who would go to a public school, they kind of go out and they open up where the students are, is one model. There's other models too. Jake mentioned the great brands that we have. If you've seen the U.S. News and World Report, we have some great brands. We have other ones like that. We have those in the center city that are doing great, like Via Montessori and ASA. They have great brands, and that's another strategy for charters to persist. But you can see that at least from the data that the National Center tracked, this private school numbers were dropping into 2020, probably because the bust in the birth rate was happening. We don't know what's happened since then. It's probably has grown. Next slide, please. And this is the, there we go. This, no, that was the first one. Yeah, that's okay. I totally, I know your role because I do it the same one at our organization. So I get it. Yeah. But essentially, the schools are getting larger in charter land, getting smaller in districts because they're land bound. They serve the public that are there. And so they have a number of schools. If we have growth in the exurbs, then new systems go out there, and other schools that are smaller or retiring or whatever might close down. It's a very different dynamic between the charter sector and the district sector, and private too. We're just starting to get our hands wrapped around it, but the data is not very rich. We are using this as an indicator of diversity, or I should say representativeness of charter schools compared to the state numbers. It does tell us, as we are serving all aspects of the state. And so we do track this. These slides, when they look like this, they're coming from our website. Whenever we get new numbers, I update the graphs, they automatically update. So check with our website now and again and give us some clicks and you'll see the data. But charters are getting very close to being on par with this kind of crude measure of representativeness. Next slide. Here is the general, or more, I should say more specific enrollment numbers from October enrollment up through 2025. You can see the charter sector in the light blue had great growth throughout the 2010s, 2010s, and then kind of stagnated around COVID time. But you can contrast that with the numbers, which for some reason bounce around a lot for the district sector. I think it's more of a function of those who run the October reports in research. There's some changes around then. Do you count the CTEDs or not? That sort of thing. But the general trend is kind of a downward trend for districts and kind of an up or a flat trend for charters. Next slide, please. So I wanted to share some of the preliminary numbers for the school year, and they just weren't out there yet. And I didn't want to just give you, some smoke. So I thought, well, let's take a whack at maybe doing a forecast. So let's take a look at that. Here are those same two trends. You put it in a real simple linear model, and it gives you a very strange picture here. You can see, the growth of the charters is going up, up, and up, and the districts are going down. The problem here is there's a lot of context there that we're not talking about. And I think this time series here, these data represent a couple of different trends. The biggest one being, of course, post Great Recession, and the other one post COVID. And those two overlapping, having some sort of interaction. The next slide shows you another trend. Look at those trends. So try to keep the colors the same. If you just look at year over year growth, you would probably get an alarming sense for where charters are going. It looks like we're just going down year over year using that model versus the districts. Looks like they're holding steady. Once again, I think that's more of a bias of different contexts playing out in this data series. And the next slide pulls out just the end of the series. This is after COVID. So after we had the moving around and the uncertainty of where humanity was going, this is kind of what we look now. And I would use this series and those dotted lines, which are the projections, to kind of estimate where we're going for the next 5 years. And it looks like the charters are right around that 0% growth. We're holding steady. And that's great, given the headwinds that Jake laid out, versus the district, which they're going down. But once again, they serve a certain geographical area, and we know those geographical areas are not all constant. They do flow out to the exurbs or out of town often. The flatness or the discrepancy between those two lines, like I said, is probably the strength of our brand, the innovation of the schools, and just the sheer determination of looking at where the building permits are and what the future is going to be, where the growth is, and the agility to move to those areas. Not a big fan of central planning because these folks often have more data than I do, and they kind of have a better clue of where the kids are going to be. So I like this model. I think this is going to be my projection going forward for the next decade. Flat, I can live with. And hopefully more kids will start being born in the state. Next slide, please. Here's some National Center for Education Statistics school type data. I just wanted to highlight a couple of these. If you look at the whole graph, it's really mostly just traditional schools. So I ripped off the end of it there. And you can see above the charter schools, about 10% of them are above that 90% line there, are an alternative school or special ed school. There's something else compared to the district portfolio, which is by and large traditional schools. That's part of the innovation and part of the offerings that we do provide to the general public here in Arizona. We have some different types of schools we offer. Next slide shows, I believe, I apologize for not adding all the years in there, but this is kind of the trends for alternative schools. Charters were fairly low until after 2010, and then they took off. And they really peaked around 2020-ish, And now they've dropped off a little bit because that baby bust is catching up with them as well. Those kids are now moving into the secondary years over there. And overall, the number of students served in the district alternative sector has decreased. There's a lot of what we call co-opetition. There's competition maybe between the sectors, but at the secondary level, there's more cooperation than you would see elsewhere because of the great work that a lot of the alternative schools do in the charter sector. Next slide, please. Here is a look at the online community. This one does have a few more data points. I had this in some old data. It does end in 2024, but you can really see the COVID effect there that both the districts and charters had a good portion of their population, or at least the charters did, in online schools. COVID hit, a big spike, really big spike for the district schools. And now it's tapering off a little bit. It's not everyone's cup of tea. Those who do like it, love it, and they stay. And it looks like it's a decrease in a little bit quicker, a little bit faster for the districts than it is for the charter sector. Time will tell. Once again, that's another tale of two different forecasts. Where will we land? Probably at least around that 15,000 mark, which was the pre-COVID, if not a little bit higher. Depends. Next slide, please. Real quickly through this, I just noticed there was some data on the State Department website that had the ESA counts by county. So I thought I'd just kind of use that as a way to flesh out kind of what the general populace is doing of school-age children in Arizona. And you can see the relative market share of each of the public sector, the charter and district sectors, and then the private sector, the ESAs, or the number of students that are there. And it gives you kind of a sense by county where the choices are being made. I'll let you look at that. It's in your packet as well. We do have a few counties that do not have charter schools because without transportation funds, it becomes a little bit onerous to get those students around. I mean, we probably have charter students there in the form of AOI, but it's hard to schlep a kid back and forth to a school in a rural area consistently without some sort of support. Next slide, please. Kind of a pet peeve of mine, but there's a lot of numbers tossed around about the funding of schools. I just wanted to point out the number is often tossed around $7,000 per ESA. That's one measure. If you actually do what all the other measures that when we look at funding for districts and charter schools, we do a per pupil revenue. It's basically just the revenue you get divided by the number of kids. If you do that, the per pupil revenue of the ESAs in the third quarter of this year was 10,287. So that's kind of a general metric. It's a little bit closer to a comparison to the charter and district numbers that we hear tossed around. Not 7,000. Next slide, please. Jake thought this one was interesting and should keep it in there. And this is the ESA enrollment by grade level. I'm sorry for the arcane way of labeling things. Grade 0 at the bottom there is kindergarten. 7,000 kindergartners were on an ESA. Before that, the preschool, the 1.3 thousand, are going to be special needs students. To be a public school student, or in our laws, that would be eligible for public school funds, you're either K and above or you're special needs preschool. You have a disability category. And you can see the dynamic there. It peaks out around grade 2, and then it starts dropping off as you go towards high schools. Next slide, please. The general trend overall, we're up to about 90,000 ESA students. From the report, we know roughly 25,000 of them last came from either a district or a charter school. So when I talk about the forecast earlier that I think it's going to be kind of flat for charters for a while because of the innovation and the planning that's going on, the ESAs do cut into the charters a bit. I think there's a different dynamic here that's beyond that. They're a different set of students. Really, the birth rate bust and those student demographics really are more of the significant factors for the charter schools these days, I would say. Achievement. All right. These are the overall test scores for all students. And once again, this comes from our website. You can click on there and get any of the disaggregations by any of the groups that are reported. You can see off to the side there. This is for English language arts. There's a gap that's persistent over the years between charters, and this is compared to the state as a whole. The next slide shows the similar trends for mathematics. It's less of a gap, and generally the mathematics are low. And there's now a burgeoning understanding that there's something that got a little bit broken with math around COVID, and there's a lot of concern about that. Next slide, please. Ashley stole our thunder, but 80% getting an A or B is what we have pretty much had for the last couple of years for charters and charter land. Districts have had a slowly increasing amount in that A and B category. They're up to 76%. There are changes coming, and the next slide starts to get into that. This is, if you didn't have the pleasure to attend the other state boards study session on possible changes to the accountability model, highly recommended. The link down there kind of gets you to it. It was very elucidating, and I'm a person who sits on on two different tacks. It was a very good study session. And here's a slide that was presented. And on first blush, you'd say uneven playing field. That's kind of loaded. What it shows is each of those dots is a school. And schools with equivalent student growth percentiles or growth measures of a 52, that's an above average student growth percentile, because the average would be around 50th. One of the schools received 50 points in the current A through F model, and the other school only got 37 points. And the policy question to the other board, and this is going to be very significant for all of us, is that fair or is it not fair? The title of the slide is uneven playing field. You know, at first blush, you'd say growth as a measure should just be counted as growth as a measure. But the original models tried to balance out and take into account both the leading indicators, such as growth, like where we're going, and the lagging ones, such as proficiency, which is just a summation of what a student has had over that year and everything prior to it. If they come from a different system that is lagging, or they're not proficient necessarily, that lack of proficiency carries on year after year. So it is more of a summation than just what happened to the student the last year. It covers the whole span. So you can look at that provocative title, challenges uneven playing field. The lagging indicator, you could say those students had an uneven playing field, or by looking just at the growth measure, it's uneven to give equivalent growth measures different amount of points. It is a very thorny policy issue, and it will be playing out over the next several months in the other board. Next slide, please. Here are some of the issues they also discussed there. A through F was created to be holistic, as I said, so there was balancing between them. It makes sense to do that. Maybe they'll still keep that for the holistic or the composite measure. Who knows? But we are also tasked in law to give component grades. The composite grade, which the other board calls summative, I call it composite because it's just a composite of all the other components, likely will be impacted by the individual component. So if you change, and that's why ATAC has been hung up on this. We know that there's this issue with the growth measure. There's an issue with proficiency. Do we start changing around the metrics, and then how do we roll them together into this overall grade? Because that's really the one that guides this board's work, a lot of this board's work, and a lot of folks' focus. Then finally, if that wasn't enough, whoops, sorry, the last bullet point is the state tests are changing. I'm sorry, I need to be more clear about my cues. The state tests are changing. And a lot of talk in that board session about, well, maybe keying our proficiency level to the National Education Measure of Education Progress, NAEP, is probably not the best thing, since NAEP's third level, there's the highest level, there's proficiency, and the one below that's basic. That's really more what the NAEP board members thought would be what proficient was. And that's not what ours is. Ours is partially proficient. So we're kind of mismatched with NAEP. Every state was at that time. So there's a lot of talk now on the other board, which once again has to contract for a new test, what that might look like. And they have the power to change that. So who knows? That will impact the proficiency measure. And the growth measure, not so much, but it'll impact that proficiency measure. And a lot of stuff is in flux right now. And that's all I have, unless you guys have any specific questions. I'm sorry to fly through that, but not so sorry. Okay.
That was fantastic. And I don't think you flew through it. Because if I understood it, I'm sure everybody else did. Data is a little difficult for me sometimes. So, well, we can tell. That was fantastic.
Excellent. Thank you.
Oh. All right. Good morning, President Montier, Vice President Close, Superintendent Designee Miller, members of the board. I will be very quick. I've been charged with kind of wrapping this up. Next slide, please. I just wanted to give you a nice overview of all of the support and the events that we have coming up. Many of you are on our calls. I've gone over these. This is just to say we have a lot of exciting support opportunities for leaders in the field. Next slide. Our annual conference, November 13th. So the State Board of Education and the ADE will be presenting and going into depth on some of those composite scores. So if that's something that you really want to hear more about, that will be presented on the 13th. Next slide. And then I just wanted to give you an overview about something that we're very excited about. So this is our first our first School Leadership Academy, and we're breaking the news with you all first, and then we'll dive very deep into this in the upcoming weeks as we unveil this. It's an exciting 10-month leadership development program that we see, and I know that you guys have seen, a real need for succession planning and support in the field. After 30 years, what does the next 30 years look like? And we want to be a very positive supporter of those next few decades. And so in that, we're developing a cohort model. We'll have about 12 people a year for the next 3 years as we pilot this, that has one-on-one coaching built into it. You may have heard us on our calls talk about the Deloitte Courageous Principles program. It's a weekend in Texas where Deloitte has partnered with us so that we can bring leaders there and they can learn some of those C-suite communication skills that they can bring back to their campuses. Next slide. This will cover all facets of operations, including academics, leadership, finance, operations, compliance, and governance. Now, while we can't dump 30 years of institutional knowledge from different leaders into a brand new leader's head and repertoire, we're really hoping to help our new leaders create networks and strengthen their leadership so that they can really bring forth the next few decades, strengthening their schools. We will have a lot more details coming up. End of September, we'll have applications out. Applicants will be selected in November, and we do plan on launching this program in January. It'll be mostly free to schools. That is also very exciting. So if you have any questions, wonderful. Have a wonderful day.
That was awesome. Thank you so much. So glad we didn't skip agenda item G. All right. Moving on to agenda item H, consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Nope. Who wants to take it? All right, Dr. Crockett. Can we get a roll call, please, Ashley?
Absolutely. Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Miss Barr,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Miss Foster,
Aye.
Mr. Snyder, Mr. Snyder, I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Excuse me. Aye.
Thank you. President Montier.
Aye.
Oh, and I'm sorry. Yep. We got all of them. Sorry.
Yes.
Making sure I got all of them.
Okay.
Motion passes.
Wonderful. All right. And moving on to agenda item I, charter amendments. I-1, Allen Cochran Enterprises, change in charter control, presentation by Rachel.
Good morning, President Montier, Vice President Close, Superintendent Designee Miller, and board members near and far. Allen Cochran Enterprises, Inc. has submitted a request to change the control of the charter holder. The charter holder has resolved to sell the entity and the assets related to the school it operates to CEE Enterprises, Inc. This is a newly formed for-profit entity that has been created for the purpose of acquiring and operating the school operated by the current charter holder, Center for Educational Excellence. For your consideration, detailed information about this transition is included in the board materials, including a summary of the interview conducted with both individuals on both sides of this transition. I'm available for any questions if you have any.
Board members, any questions? All right, do we have a representative that would like to speak? Wonderful. Come on up.
I'm first. Good morning, President Monteith and board members. I am Stacy Cochran, and I am the founder and current charter holder for the Center for Educational Excellence. It is hard to believe that in 1996, I was standing exactly here and trying to convince the Arizona State Board for Charter Schools that I was going to build an exemplary charter school where students could learn in a safe and positive environment. And I am grateful for the opportunity that you all bestowed upon me. I was Mary Gifford at the time. I'm way back when, so I'm one of those pioneers. We are now starting our 29th year. We've had a very positive 28 years now. And I always say that it takes a village, and I have been blessed by my village. From all the support of the wonderful people that have been around me, including my husband and my children and all family members. Cindy Nelson, where she just went here, has been a part of this adventure for 15 years, starting out as a brand new fourth grade teacher and taking on any tasks asked of her. But it was just 5 years ago when she said to me, I would like to be the one to carry on your legacy. So I looked at her and I said, let the adventure begin. So we have been diligently working side by side to prepare her for this day. She has proven herself more than capable to take on the many, many hats that as an owner, administrator, and principal, that all that we wear. Her dedication to the students, families, and staff is never wavering, but it is her passion that drives her. I am excited to see where this journey may take her, and she can begin to build her own legacy. Cindy?
All right. Good morning, President Montier and other board members. I am Cynthia Nelson. I have been at CEE for 15 years now. I appreciate you guys inviting us today and all of the help that we've had putting into and reviewing our application. I know that it's lengthy. I hope in reading through everything that you guys were able to accurately we were able to accurately convey the planning and preparation that's gone into making this a seamless transition for our students, staff, and our families. Over the past 15 years at CEE, I've learned a multitude of things. I've developed leadership skills. I've learned many, many lessons through many different situations. And as Stacy would say, most importantly, I've developed my thicker skin. I'm grateful for the leadership, the mentorship, and the friendship that I've had with Stacy thus far. And I know that while our roles are going to be changing, our relationship and passion for showing others why CEE is truly the place to be will never change. I'm excited and ready for this next step in continuing the legacy and standard of excellence that Stacy has built over the past 28 years. And here's to the next 28. Thank you.
Board members, any questions? Dr. Crockett.
Monteith, I have no questions. I just want to say to both of you, I am in awe of what's happening here. I just think your leadership, Ms. Cochran, has been exceptional for this school. And the fact that you've mentored, you've had the opportunity to mentor, and you decided to do that is very deliberate action to ensure that your school goes on and it follows an excellent path in the many years to come. So congratulations to you. And to Ms. Nelson, I just think taking on a major loan to buy this school, I'm just very impressed with that. And I wish you a lot of success along your road.
And I hear there's an academy for new leaders that's going to happen in January. I don't know it. I just heard something about it. Whispers, you know? Are you leading that academy? Oh. Any other comments, questions from the board at all?
Really quick, I just want to confirm based on what I'm seeing here, Ms. Cochran, you are planning on staying on and as a contractor in an advisory role. How long do you plan on doing that? Just, oh, okay. Oh. It's fine. I heard you just fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You know what? It's a fine line. I'm going to be there for everything. We tease about, oh, I'm going to come in 2 days a week, 3 days a week. And then I think about my husband that's retired at home. And I said, maybe I'll be there 5 days a week. But you know what, for sure, the first full year, I'll always be there. It's my love, my families. We have students that have come back with their families. So I'm just so blessed to have somebody like her that has the same passion, and she has seen and been through all of the things that it takes to run a school. And so I'm just really excited for her to take on this big responsibility, but I'll be there.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Just stay right there.
Oh.
Don't go anywhere. Anyway, okay. Yes.
Yeah,
Ms.
good
Miller.
morning. It's such a pleasure to see you again.
Hi, Wendy.
Hi. In our interview, I know you guys were still considering the best way to approach sharing this news with your community. So I was wondering if there's been any more thought or plans behind that.
You know, that's a great question. I think we've talked a lot about it. I'm really sensitive to the role that Cindy's going to be taking after I've been there for so long. I think we are going to let the staff know. We've been rolling over duties for quite a while now. I've been able to take some vacations and not be on the premises. I'm having shoulder surgery, so I'll be out. So we are going to let the staff know that there's a change of ownership. Our sale won't be finalized for another month and a half or so, but I don't think that's going to be any issue. So we were at a fundraiser the other night for our PTO, and some of the parents, they see the writing on the wall. Stacy, you're finally going to retire. Have some time and do some other things. And they think the world of Cindy. I've placed her in all the roles. I don't think there'll be any hiccup in the running of the school at all. And they know that I'll be around, but she's got this. She really does. So we'll probably be starting to spread the word. I think people know. Does that answer your question? Yeah, we haven't got it completely down.
You still have a month or so, right?
Well,
get
after
some
the,
time.
you never know.
Well,
Right.
exactly.
You never know.
Hold
But I
on.
think everybody, they know. I'm getting old. I'm getting old. So
No, you
they're-
just need some time to do other things.
That's right. I do.
That's all.
I
Yes.
do. It's
Any-
been a pleasure, though. I seriously remember coming up the elevator in 1996 going, what am I doing? And I had a little private school and private preschool. And Senator Huppenthal at the time was the pro charter, and his daughters were at my school and said, you need to try this. So I dragged my husband and my accountant and said, okay, we can do this as long as it's free for the families. So 29 years later, we've, kept our small environment and met a lot of needs of families. So we're really, really blessed.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Other questions or comments from the board? No? All right. Well, if there are no other questions or comments, do we have a motion?
Give somebody else the opportunity. Mhm. I'll do it. Get this rolling. I move based on the information contained in the board materials and presented today to approve the request for a change in charter control as presented in the board materials today for the contract of Alan Cochran Enterprises, Inc., effective October 15th, 2025, and contingent upon the sale between the two parties.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Definite second.
Definite second from Dr. Crockett. All right. Can we get a vote? Roll call vote, please.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Miss Barr,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Miss Foster,
Aye.
Mr. Snyder, Thank you. President Montier,
Aye.
motion passes.
Lovely. Congratulations. All right. On to agenda item I2, EduPrise LLC presentation, also by Rachel.
EduPrise LLC has submitted a charter holder status change in legal status amendment request. EduPrise LLC has resolved to transition the entity from the current for-profit limited liability company to EduPrise Schools Incorporated, a not-for-profit corporation with an independent board of directors. The purpose of the transition is to enhance long-term sustainability and success and to allow the school to access more funding opportunities for students. Information about board membership before and after the transition is outlined in the executive summary, and I'm here for any questions.
Board members, do we have any questions for Rachel? All right. If there are no questions, do we have representatives from the charter? Hi, come on up. Hi to you too. Stealing the show.
Yeah. Good morning, President Montier, Vice President Close, Superintendent Designee Miller, and board members. My name is Dr. Michael Gordon-Smith. I'm the superintendent at EduPrise, a role I've been proud to hold since 2024. I'm happy to report that EduPrise is thriving. Our enrollment is up to 3,016 students across our two campuses, our one in Gilbert and our one in Queen Creek. And our schools are both A-rated schools, offering over 3,000 students an excellent education. Today, we are requesting that the board approve our request to convert EduPrise Schools LLC, the charter holder for the two schools, into a nonprofit organization. As you may know, EduPrise was founded in 1995 under the leadership of Dr. Lynn Robershot. When Dr. Robershot decided it was time to retire in 2022, Rosemar stepped in to operate the school, and this board approved the change in charter holder. Rosemar is the sole member of EduPrise. Since the transition, EduPrise has been steadfast in upholding its founding values and furthering the legacy established by Dr. Robershot nearly 3 decades ago. We have focused on ensuring continuity while continuing to grow and thrive. Our vision centers on sustaining long-term growth and sustainability while elevating educational quality for Arizona families. To achieve this goal, EduPrise is seeking to convert from a for-profit limited liability company to a tax-exempt nonprofit corporation with an independent board of directors. The strategic transition is entirely voluntary, with Rosemar relinquishing its ownership interest in the charter holder without compensation, demonstrating a genuine commitment to benefiting the school community. By restructuring as a nonprofit, EduPrise will be able to pursue new funding opportunities, foster innovation, and expand its reach, all while remaining true to the principles and aspirations that we believe have made us a leader in education. As part of our documentation, we've submitted a draft of the Articles of Incorporation for the new nonprofit, as well as a draft of application for federal tax exempt status. EduPrise is committed to continuity and stability throughout this change. The same group of dedicated individuals will serve both as the new corporate board and the high school's governing body, streamlining oversight and reinforcing a unified vision. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about our submission or EduPrise generally. Thank you.
Any questions from the board? Dr. Crockett?
I do have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
What was the incentive? First of all, I'm glad you're petitioning to become a nonprofit. But what was your incentive to do so? Because sounds like everything was working very well.
Yeah, things are going very well. But we've found that we would like to increase different opportunities for funding for our institution, which we're not open to as a for-profit. I think things have become tighter, and in an effort to create more opportunities for our students, we want to find other opportunities to find money for our campus. So
thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to piggyback on Dr. Crockett's question a little bit. So what challenges or maybe barriers have you come across that you are then, and then what steps do you have in place to kind of address those?
Yeah.
Because it's a whole different world, right?
It is.
So it's definitely going to be exciting, but yeah.
It is going to be exciting. And I've spent the last year looking at some of the different challenges that EduPrise has experienced, right? We've all experienced a little bit of a contraction in enrollment. We've experienced a little bit of that. And so we are looking to to purchase some buses, for example, to expand our opportunities to other parts of the city, the cities that we operate in. We're looking to find additional funds for some of our special populations that seem to be increasing in some of our schools as well. We're looking for additional funds for training for our teachers. There are just so many opportunities to pull money to increase what we offer that we'd like to be open to those things. So, yeah, we really believe it's the time for us. And we're looking to expand as well. We believe that what we offer is unique and special, and we're confident that we can grow our system. In order to do that, I think we also need to be a nonprofit institution.
Any other questions from the board? I don't want to ignore anyone online, so hopefully we don't have any questions. No? Okay, so if there are no other questions, do we have a motion?
Yeah, as supportive as I am, I move based on a review of the information contained in the board materials and presented today to approve the change in legal status for Eduprise LLC from the current for-profit entity to Eduprise Schools, Inc., a not-for-profit corporation.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Ashley, we're ready.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Ms. Barr,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Mr. Snyder. Can you say that one more time, Mr. Snyder? Thank you. Appreciate it. President Monteith.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Congratulations. Best of luck. All right. And we are moving on to agenda item I3, Heritage Academy Maricopa. And it looks like we have a presentation by Shannon this time.
Good morning, President Monteith, Vice President Close, Superintendent Designee Miller, and all of our board members. Heritage Academy Maricopa, Inc. has submitted an amendment request to increase its enrollment cap from 930 to 1100 beginning in fiscal year 2026, to increase the grades served from 6 through 12 to K-12 for fiscal year 2027, to add Heritage Academy Maricopa K-5 to its charter for fiscal year 2027, and to increase the enrollment cap to 1900 in fiscal year 2027 to accommodate the new grades and school. The new school would be located in Maricopa, serve students in grades K through 5, and open in fiscal year 2027. The charter holder is requesting the new school and grade level increase and the enrollment cap increases in response to parent demand for classical education at the elementary level and increased enrollment at the existing school. The charter holder does not meet the staff recommendation criteria because the charter holder itself does not have 3 years of financial performance dashboards, and only 50% of its associated charters have a summative financial performance rating of good standing for the three most recent fiscal years in which a financial dashboard is available. Further, Heritage Academy Maricopa does not currently serve grades K through 5. Therefore, it is unable to demonstrate that the school performs at or above the performance of a majority of schools that serve those grades within a 2 and 5 mile radius of the proposed school's location. And I am available for questions if you have them.
Yes, questions.
Hi, thank you.
Good morning.
Could you speak a little bit more to the summative financial performance rating at Heritage Academy Levine and the other one at Paul Revere Academy as well? Are you able to kind of talk about where those schools are with their interventions? And is that just...
That is a good question. I'm looking to Ashley for help on that one.
I'm happy to jump in. So with the Heritage Academy Point, that school was actually in charter contract was surrendered in FY25. That was a part of an expansion. So typically when we see schools that are in their first couple years of operation, it is a lot harder on schools to be under good standing under our framework just because of the expenses that they have. So for that Heritage Academy Point, that intervention for FY24 made sense, but again, that school has been closed. They did surrender that contract. For the Paul Revere Academy, yes, they are under intervention. They've been submitting quarterly reports to Andrea And in that review, it's my understanding that there is no concern at this time. But I believe the charter holder would be able to speak to, where they're at and what the future looks like as we potentially will receive the FY 25 audits here pretty soon.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Shannon from the board?
Yeah, I do have a quick question. Thank you so much, Shannon. It's probably obvious in all of our materials, but it's getting a little mixed together in my mind. So there's no current Maricopa Academy.
There is a current 612
Okay.
school,
Okay.
which has been operating for
Got
a
it.
number of years, operated under the Heritage Academy Maricopa Inc. charter, transferred to its own charter contract in fiscal year that was approved in 23. So there's a 612 school currently operating. There is not a K5 school.
A lot more clarity now on why some of the comparisons, and thank you for that clarification.
Anyone else? No? Do we have a representative from the charter or representatives? Hi. Can you turn your mic on? Wonderful. Thank you so much.
There we go. Thank you for having us here today, Madam President and Superintendent Designee. Nice to see you again. Vice President, members of the board. My name is Jared Taylor, the Chief Executive Officer for Heritage Academy, and we're grateful that we're on the agenda here today and that you're considering this. I'd like to thank the board staff for working with us to prepare the material. And you've seen some of the people here from the community that have asked us for a number of years. It's probably been about 3 years in the making when we were asked by a group of moms to roll down the grades and open up an elementary. They had seen what we were doing with our Heritage Academy Gateway Elementary program and were very impressed and desired that same program to be in their community as well. In front of you today, as Staff Member Black mentioned, there's really two things: an enrollment cap for this current fiscal year, and the second part is a new school with an enrollment cap for starting next school year. Really the community that we're here is not just the city of Maricopa, although that is largely who we have recognized, but right adjacent to the city is the Auction Indian community that also sends children to our school. And it's a pleasure to serve both of these wonderful communities in Pinal County. And we've been there for 5 years. Heritage Academy, as you may know, is a first-year charter. This is our 31st year in operation here, and it's fun to hear some of the stories from other of the first years. And I know Superintendent Designee Miller, I know you're a first-year charter. It's fun to see you on the dais there. It brings back some memories when I served with your father on the state board a few years ago, and that was a pleasure. I'm happy to answer questions. I do want to address the question brought up about Heritage Academy Levine and its intervention status. I think it's on page 7 of the executive summary. It does acknowledge that that entity, that school, is not an intervention anymore. The reason why it was an intervention was because we refinanced the debt, and under the current charter board rules, we had to recognize about $850,000 in interest expense. So it was a non-cash action, but because the math put it in technical intervention, even though it was a strong business move to increase the cash position and strengthen the finances, it was put in intervention status. So we went through the motions, got out of it quickly, obviously, because the school was doing very well and performing financially. It was just the refinance record keeping that put it in there. Our CFO worked with board staff to recognize that as, why punish someone for doing good? It was on that list. And so we're grateful to work with board staff. And I think that was, rectified in the new financial framework that was rolled out recently. So I would ask you, as you've heard from our community, and we have a star here, a future hero that may have been taken out. But I'm grateful for the parents here that have been great supports for our program, and I'm happy to answer any additional questions from the board at this time.
Board members, questions? Go for it.
Sure. Good morning. It is really nice to see you again, Mr. Taylor. I was curious on the enrollment caps. Are those, can you just speak a little bit to your thinking? Is it joint with your organization, or are they for each individual school? And your projections, what are those based on?
It's individual. We're the type of charter system that has an entity and then a school under it. And then we have multiple entities for multiple schools. So this would be just for the Maricopa entity that we have.
And your projections for that enrollment, are those coming from just the word of mouth, some neighborhood research?
Well, for the first part, the current enrollment cap, we currently have a little bit over our enrollment cap right now. So that's actual real-time data. There's just that strong a demand for our program, and as you heard from this community. The second projection, we have had for 3 years 600 families on an interest list, waiting for the program to come forward. So those are real names that are in front of us today. We have a pending open house coming up in a couple weeks. We had 100 seats initially reserved. They filled up within 2 weeks. We've opened up another 100 seats for an open house. So we have real data, even though there are, projections, but we have, very, very, very strong demand right now.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Crockett?
Thank you. I have one quick question, and that is, when Heritage Academy Maricopa Inc. was founded, why did you not consider K through 5 as part of your model?
It sort of goes back to my. Oh, there we go. My father, who was the original charter operator, really wanted to have a junior high and high school program. And we were surrounded at the time by very strong elementaries, and he didn't think it made a lot of sense to have to open up and compete with strong schools. Things changed, and there was just an ongoing, probably from the second year, and we have the founding principal here with us, Mrs. Ellsworth. She started to get requests from the community to roll down the grades and get elementary school. When are you getting in elementary? And she would tell me that over and over. We've heard that probably for about 5 years now. So we did have our first elementary in the Queen Creek Mesa area. That's gone very well. And so we do have 2 in our system right now, one up in the Pinnacle Peak area, very, very small. And so this will be our 3rd one, and it's community request at this point.
Are you planning, if this does get approved, to sort of roll back and add just a 5th grade, and then the year before or next year just 4th grade? Or are you just planning on doing the whole shebang at once?
The whole shebang at once.
Okay. And are you planning?
It's a technical term, right?
I already knew what I meant. Language is ever changing. And are you planning to be on the same campus as the current 6 through 12, or are you planning on opening on a separate location?
It'll be at a separate location. It'll be fairly close. I wish we had adjacent land where that would be an option, but it'll be approximately a mile south of the existing campus. So easy for the families that have both.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I was actually going to ask a similar question about how that was going to look for a K-12 versus 6-12. Talk to me about staffing. So we're looking at dropping all the way down K-5. So what have you done in preparation for that program? How have you reached out to the community? What's your plan for that? And then as far as resources go and all of that. So just kind of the whole K-5, because it's a very different animal from 6 through 12, as you know.
It very much is. And thank you for the question. Staffing is a huge issue. Talented teachers is a major priority for us. And I'm grateful for people that have recognized our faculty as one of the strongest in the state of Arizona, and we're grateful for that. And we want to continue to serve. Our model does not work unless you have high quality faculty. To begin with, I do have with me today here our principal. You want to wave? Tara Nelson is on staff as the planning principal and getting things going. We have an opening for a registrar to get going. Specifically to teachers, her inbox is currently getting filled with high quality resumes right now for people that are interested as they're hearing us come forward to the charter board and request this, that would like to talk about it. Is that a slam dunk? Is it all going to happen perfectly? I'd like to say it is. Our current model, we do not have any empty classrooms. We do have good quality teachers, and the community knows that we attract and treat our faculty very well. So I think I'm feeling good about it, even though it's early on. We will start our staffing program probably October, November with a couple job fairs and open houses. At our other elementary, we had an open house that we had so many resumes going into that of high quality applicants. We changed it from an open house to an interview day. And we just started making offers for teachers. I'm not sure if it's going to go that strong because we're in different demographics. There's not quite the talent pool in this area, although it's more just a number of population. But we're going to get started early to make sure that our classrooms are filled with good teachers that love children, love our country, and want to deliver on the heritage mission.
And then just one other question, since they're a mile apart, you said roughly the campuses.
Yep.
So how have you worked out scheduling specifically for the parents who have students on one campus, students on the other campus, and trying to negotiate that? Also transportation, that's a huge word that everybody's talking about right now. So what does that look like for you?
Yeah, and right in between the two is a big, huge railroad. So that's always fun. And the trains are very long in Pinal County. So, good communication, start early. We're designing the drive line to be 15 minutes. So, if they're starting at the elementary, I know, that's right. We got our case of Lucky Rabbit's feet but we'll potentially stagger the start times. We'll identify the families that do have children in both locations to make sure that, we're doing the very best and make, that we can. It's a dark art, the whole thing of traffic circulation and parking. So
Parent pickup is, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions online or otherwise? No? Okay. So if there are no other questions, do we have a motion?
I make a motion. I have a comment or two first, though. I just wanted to say, I grew up originally on the Gila River Reservation, and I've seen Maricopa. Just to call Maricopa a dynamic town, I think would be an understatement. It's really spectacular, and the growth it's experienced. I'd also like to say that there's no measure that would determine the establishment and operation of a school as easy. And so I think you've done a great job. And I know we're here because there are some technical reasons, but I tend to look at school operations a lot like value investing. I look at the characters involved in the past of all the different components, and I have no problem moving forward and making a motion to I move based on the information contained in the board materials and presented today to approve the following request for the contract of Heritage Academy Maricopa, Inc. 1, to increase the enrollment cap from 930 to 1,100, beginning in FY 2026. 2, to add Heritage Academy Maricopa K-5 to the contract, beginning in FY 2027. 3, to increase the grade level served from grades 6 through 12 to grades K through 12, beginning in FY 2027. And 4, to increase the enrollment cap for the contract of Heritage Academy Maricopa, Inc. from 1,100 to 1,900, beginning in FY 2027.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Wonderful. Ashley, we're ready.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Miss Barr,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Miss Foster,
I was going to say, I've heard anecdotally that people are requesting this, so I think and wish you much success with the growth. I say aye.
Mr. Snyder,
Aye.
President Montier.
This was a big ask, and you answered all of the questions. So I also go with the board aye. Congratulations.
Motion passes.
Good luck on that railroad.
We're all pulling for you with parent pickup. Seriously. And parents, good luck as well. All right. Agenda item I4, Math and Science Success Academy presentation, also by Shannon.
Math and Science Success Academy, Inc. has submitted a new school amendment request to add Academy of Math and Science Mesa to its charter. The new school would be located in Mesa, serve students in grades K through 8, and open in fiscal year 2027. AMS Mesa will be located on the site of a charter school that is planning to close at the end of this school year. In this transition, the charter holder plans to maintain a partnership with the existing operator, Boys and Girls Club, enhancing their facilities and working with them to provide various activities and programs for the school students. The charter holder does not meet the staff recommendation criteria because although the school operated by the charter holder has maintained a letter grade of A or B for the most recent 3 fiscal years, the school did experience a decrease in letter grade from an A in fiscal year 23 to a B in fiscal year 24. And we are available for questions if you have them.
Any questions for them? No? All right. Do we have a representative from the charter?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Madam President, Madam Superintendent Designee, members of the board, we are thrilled, my colleagues and I are thrilled to be here. It's been a long time since we've been in front of you. So we're super excited to request this expansion amendment for our MASA LEA, so Math and Science Success Academy. It's part of the larger Academy of Math and Science network, serving right now over 8,600 kids across Phoenix and Tucson. We're very thrilled about this opportunity because of the partnership with the Boys and Girls Club. With the closing of the Mesa Arts Academy at the end of this school year, our goal is to continue services to those families. As you know, at AMS, we strive, our mission is to serve a high need population. The school serves over an 80% free and reduced student population, which is right in line with our entire network population. And what we really like about this is the partnership with the Boys and Girls Club. It is a first for us to build a school adjacent to a Boys and Girls Club. With that population, it's super important for that they have a place to go before school and after school. Currently, the students, there's about 230-ish students at Mesa Arts Academy. They're in modulars that are very old. We're going to build a 25,000 square foot new school, new playing fields, new whole new play area right adjacent to the Boys and Girls Club. So it will provide those families in that area a brand new school to go to, and with a recent donation, an enhanced Boys and Girls Club experience before and after school. Currently, the school, as I mentioned, has 230 kids. Our plan is to continue with those 230 kids and add an additional couple hundred to get to a little over 600 that we feel very comfortable. In doing our research and looking at the demographics and the densities of that area match what we see at one of our schools in Central Phoenix. And so getting to the 600 through our traditional marketing approach, our grassroots, we're really going to focus on a community effort and with this school, similar to Math and Science Success Academy in Tucson, which is what we like to consider a community-based school. We intend to staff 45 total employees, including a principal and 2 assistant principals. We will start that staffing process similar to when we start the enrollment process this fall toward the end of the calendar year. And we're very excited for that. I think at the end of the day, what we're most excited about is bringing on a new school into our entire AMS network that serves a population that in this area we feel is in need of a high quality charter school option. And with the option of a before and after care solution that the Boys and Girls Club takes care of that just enhances the experience of these families. So we're super thrilled to bring our program into the Mesa market, which typically we're Central and South Phoenix and in Tucson. And so we think this is a wonderful opportunity for that community. I have my colleagues here with us, happy to answer, entertain any questions you might have.
Board members?
Yeah, quick question. So you are a STEM school, and Mesa Arts Academy obviously is an arts academy. How do you plan on transitioning the student population from this different model of arts focus to STEM focus?
Yeah, I love that question. I'm going to defer that to our superintendent, who's taking on that project.
Good morning, Superintendent Christina Winters. Thank you. Great question. Also a question that we're hearing from other teachers and parents as well. Within our community of schools, we're really focused on strengthening that STEAM component of all of our schools. So we have a really strong science and math academic team that works in our network office, and they have developed a 3-year rollout of strengthening what that STEAM looks like. And bringing on the Mesa Arts Academy has really increased what that looks like for us. We were actually missing a little component of that arts piece. We were very STEM focused, and because of the Mesa Arts Academy, we were able to bring in that STEAM Academy. So we have a 3-year plan of how we're going to continue to enhance what they already have, bringing in the STEM side of it, but also keeping strong with their tradition of arts as well. So we will be partnering with the community, with the staff, with the scholars to see what really is important to the soul of Mesa Arts Academy. It's been around for a very long time, and then bringing it into our own STEM program.
Could you give me some examples of this 3-year plan? What's going to happen?
Right. So as we're rolling things out for our schools, we are developing lots of different components of math within the school and after school opportunities with the math and arts. So they already have the arts. We've been talking with Mesa Arts Academy and really partnering with them in lots of conversations as this transition year is happening. And so we're talking about bringing they have their dance, they have their art programs. And so the Boys and Girls Club is also going to own a lot of that within the after school program. And then we are going to bring a component of that art within our classrooms and especially within our K-2 curriculum. We've developed a framework that's our standards that drives us. We really drive with the state standards versus just using a program. So we've developed our K-2 within our science programs to bring in that art component with the art standards built into our science programs throughout our standards.
Okay, so I guess I'm looking for more like, are you incorporating fine arts, or are you having music programs?
Yeah, all of our schools currently have a fine arts component. We already have music at all of our academies of math and science, as well as art classes within that. So we really want to just continue to grow on what's important to them, but those are already built within our programs. We already have electives that include technology, arts, arts, the fine arts, the music, and everything that's already built in it. So we're going to keep with our structure of what we do and do well with those special areas, but we really want to reinforce what was special to them as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't super clear in that.
Other questions?
Sure. Yeah. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. It's nice to see you all. So you guys are new to Mesa. I know you have a great reputation in a lot of the neighborhoods you currently serve. There is a lot of other people in Mesa, right? This is a very saturated area. If you could just speak a little bit to why it's still a smart move for you.
Yeah, good question. Number one, the continuation of Mesa Arts Academy. We partnered with the Boys and Girls Club to look at you would consider maybe a loyalty factor of those families, and we found that they are very loyal to that school. So we felt like we kind of had a jump on serving that community with kind of an inherent 200 plus kids. But also, unfortunately, we have seen that some schools in the area, some charters are closing down. In doing our research in that, we saw and kind of came up with our own narrative of why, and the strength of our network kind of plays to maybe not the strengths of others. Our team does a phenomenal job of marketing, of showcasing why the Academy of Math and Science is a good option for families. This one, like I mentioned, we're going to try to mimic what we do in South Tucson at the Math and Science Success Academy by really emphasizing the community aspect. It's a very strong community feel of the school. And so we want to play on that and really emphasize that. And then the second key component of that is the partnership with the Boys and Girls Club. Having an option for those families, like last year they had an 84% free reduced lunch. This year so far they're at 82%. Those families are in need of something before and after. And so that's a need that we can fulfill just by partnering with them. And then third, it's a brand new school. It looks beautiful. If you see the renderings, and that's not something that those families will have the opportunity to go to attend in that area. And so we're really banking on those three things to really fulfill the enrollment, but also provide quality.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Are there questions? Nope. Okay, if there are no other questions, do we have a motion?
Good luck. I move based on the information contained in the board materials and presented today to approve the request to add Academy of Math and Science Mesa to the contract with Math and Science Success Academy, Inc. That's my motion. I just want to say I'm familiar with the location. I think it needs it, and I think you've done a good job. So, like I said, that's to add on to my good luck statement at the start of the whole thing.
Just rounding it out, Yes. All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Oh, who's taking it? All right. Superintendent Designee Miller. Fantastic. Ashley, we're ready.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Ms. Barr. Aye. Dr. Crockett.
Aye, and I'd like to say I'm really happy to see that you're partnering with Boys and Girls Club.
Ms. Foster.
Aye.
Mr. Snyder.
Aye. Excuse me. Aye.
President Montiers.
I'm just really excited about the A in STEAM because I think that it's incredibly important and it pairs very nicely with everything else. And aye.
Motion passes.
Congratulations or good luck as.
How about both?
That's right. That's right. Hopefully parent pickup will be easy. All right. Agenda item I-5, Skyline Gila River Schools, presentation by Shannon again.
I promise this is the last time. Today. All right, Skyline Gila River Schools, LLC, has submitted an amendment request to increase its enrollment cap from 250 to 450 for fiscal year 2026. 420, I'm sorry. Let me try that again. Reading is hard today. Increase its enrollment cap from 250 to 420 for fiscal year 2026. The increase is to accommodate the growing enrollment, which was at 96% capacity at the end of fiscal year 2025. The charter holder does not meet the staff recommendation criteria because 2 of its 5 associated schools were not rated under state accountability in fiscal year 2022, 2023, and 2024. The 5th school was unrated in fiscal year 2022 and 23, but did receive a letter grade of C in fiscal year 2024. And I'm available for questions, just not reading.
All right. Any questions from the board? Just to clarify, it's 420. Yeah. Okay. Just checking. No questions? Do we have a representative from the charter? Hi. I think we can say, oh, nope, still morning. Good morning.
All right, I'm on. I'm live. Good morning, Madam President Montier, Vice President Close, and Superintendent Intendant Designee, and distinguished members of the board. Thank you for having us here today, or myself here today. I think we have KJ, who is another charter representative on the line as well. And my name's Swin Anderson. So I'd also like to thank the ASBCS staff, the association members, and fellow charter holders out there for all the hard work that you're doing. So yes, we're applying for, as you can see, the enrollment cap increase. This request is really grounded in a strong and sustained community demand and a proven record of increased enrollment in the Gila River Indian community. So this particular school of ours serves 100% Native American students from the Gila River Indian community. And our relationship has just immensely grown over the years. with the community to the extent we had Governor Lewis last year at our graduation deliver the commencement speech. So it was just unbelievably amazing. So we also have a member of the community that sits on our campus and is integrated to help the staff members learn, understand more about the Gila River Indian community culture and continue to serve those students and parents and families. And so we've consistently been above that 90% as noted. And the current demand that we're experiencing there is, I mean, I can't say anything less than it's just amazing. And the recognition that we're getting from the community is amazing. So we just want to keep having an opportunity to be able to do that. So as noted, so a couple main talking points here would be Skyline Gila River and all of our associated schools meet the operational and financial framework metrics for the past 3 years. So we're very proud of that. Skyline Gila River received an A alt letter grade for 24, 23, and a B for 22. We do serve that unique population, and so I think an opportunity for us to continue to do that, it would be amazing. So with that, I'll open it if you have any questions.
I hit the wrong button. Sorry. Questions from the board? No. All right. If there are no questions, then let's go ahead and get a motion.
I'm happy to make this motion.
Wonderful.
I move based on the information contained in the board materials and presented today to approve the request to increase the enrollment cap for the contract of Skyline Gila River Schools LLC from 250 to 420 beginning in FY 2026.
I'm glad you got that 420 in there. We have a motion. Are there any seconds?
I'll second.
Wonderful. Ashley, we're ready.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Ms. Barr,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Mr. Snyder,
Aye.
President Monteith.
There's obviously an incredible need, so thank you so much for everything that you do, and my vote is aye as well.
Motion passes.
Congratulations. All right. Looks like we are moving on to agenda item J, compliance matters. Presentation by Andrea, just so that we are all on the same page. All 3 charters will be considered together, and at the same time, 1 vote is appropriate for all. Andrea, welcome.
Welcome, President Monteith, members of the board. According to the board's administrative rules, if state aid is withheld for 2 months for a charter holder's failure to timely submit an audit, the board shall consider the charter holder's noncompliance and may subject the charter holder to additional charter oversight, which may include entering into a consent agreement or issuing a notice of intent to revoke the charter contract. At its May 6, 2025 meeting, the board voted to withhold 10% of the monthly state aid apportionment for CPLC Community Schools Entity ID 4300, Entity ID 80032, and Entity ID 90331. The Arizona Department of Education withheld 10% of the 3 charters' May, June, and July payments. On August 1st, or 4 months after the deadline, the board received complete single audits for the 3 charters. Pursuant to the board's rules, the 3 charters for CPLC Community Schools have been placed on today's agenda for the board's consideration of the charter holders' failure to timely submit their audits and the subsequent withholding of funds. I am available for questions.
Board members, do we have any questions for Andrea? All right. Do we have a representative from the charter?
Yes.
Hi, welcome.
Hello, good morning, President Montier, Superintendent Designee Miller, and Vice President Close, and members of the board. I would like to provide a reminder regarding the audit delay. The audit being delayed due to not having sufficient documentation related to the Paycheck Protection Program closeout through one of our subsidiaries of CPLC. This was out of our control. We did obtain the necessary closeout guidance documentation mid-July, and the audit was issued at the end of July. This is a one-time situation tied to an emergency program related to the COVID pandemic, and we do not anticipate this being an annual occurrence. And we do expect to return to normal audit timeline moving forward. I am happy to answer any questions at this time.
Board members, any questions? Yes.
Hi, I had a question and I'm aware of, the situation and matters certainly out of your hands. Has there been any talk on your ends of possibly separating auditing of the schools from the larger program as a whole, so another holdup like this doesn't happen again?
I did follow up with our CFO to ask that question, and he shared that right now the plan is to continue as we've been operating for the past few years. So no, they do not plan on having a separate audit. But he did reassure that this should no longer take place again because it was a one-time situation due to emergency funding.
Okay, thank you.
I don't mean to, beat the proverbial dead horse, but are there safeguards in place we can never plan for anything, right? I don't think anybody planned for COVID. So now that we've experienced these things and your company in particular, what safeguards do you have in place so that I guess the question is, this has been 3 months, a little bit more than that. And so obviously it's a one-time thing. We understand all of that, but we also want to make sure that there are safeguards put in place. Like, what have we learned from this and how can we move forward and not end up in this situation again? Because it's not great for you. And we don't want to be up here, doing this either, to be honest. So, I guess that's my question, is just the safeguards and plans and procedures moving forward.
So I know that there are procedures on the finance end to make sure that this doesn't happen again, but I unfortunately can't speak to that because I just oversee the schools. But that is in the works and process and constantly being reviewed at this time.
Anybody else questions? I don't think so. No? Okay. So then if there are no other questions, do we have a motion?
Clear my throat for this one here.
Yes.
Excuse me. I move to find CPLC Community Schools, entity ID 4300, entity ID 80032, and entity ID 90331, hereinafter referred to as the charter holders, have failed to timely submit their fiscal year 2024 audits and therefore have violated their charter contracts and state law. These failures and violations provide a sufficient basis to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter holders' charter contracts. However, the board is authorized to exercise its legal discretion with regards to actions taken against a charter holder that is not in compliance with its charter and state law. In an effort to bring the charter holders into compliance, the board directs staff to work with legal counsel to develop consent agreements that address the charter holders' non-compliance with the board's audit submission requirements, their charter contracts, and state law, and include the audit-related provisions identified in the meeting materials. I further move that the board authorize the board president to approve and sign the consent agreements executed by the charter holders without the agreements being brought before the entire board for approval at a subsequent meeting. If the charter holders choose not to accept the terms of the consent agreements, then it is the board's decision that the charter holders be placed on a future agenda for consideration of a motion to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter holders' charter contracts for the reasons already specified.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Oh,
You can have that one.
okay. We'll give that one to Mr. Snyder. Ashley, we're ready.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Ms. Barr,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Mr. Snyder,
Aye.
President Montier.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. All right. J2, to Desert Star Community School presentation by Cassie. Hi, Cassie.
Good afternoon, President Montier, Superintendent Designee Miller, and members of the board. Pursuant to Arizona Revised Statutes 15183R and Arizona Administrative Code R75403F, if the board determines a charter holder does not meet the board's minimum operational performance expectations, it shall consider the charter holder's noncompliance and may subject the charter holder to additional charter oversight as outlined in Article 6 of the Arizona Administrative Code, including issuing a notice of intent to revoke the charter contract. Pursuant to this rule, Desert Star Community School has been placed on the agenda for the board's consideration. The portfolio includes an executive summary detailing the charter holder's operational issues, including a summary table beginning on page 2 outlining which measure was rated a does not meet standard, a charter holder profile containing the governance structure, state assessment data, student enrollment and demographics, nearby schools comparison, and performance dashboards, and the site visit report sent by board staff and a communication timeline summarizing any technical assistance or information provided to the charter holder. The board will receive information to determine whether evidence exists that Desert Star Community School is in breach of one or more provisions of their charter contract or federal, state, or local laws regarding their failure to meet the operational performance expectations set forth in the board's operational performance framework. If the board determines that a breach may have occurred, the board may take action as it deems appropriate or necessary under state law, which may include issuing a notice of intent to revoke the charter pursuant to Arizona Revised Statutes 15183I3 and Arizona Administrative Code R75403F. Due to Desert Star Community School being in its 5th year of operation following its charter renewal, board staff conducted a pop-in site visit on November 13th, 2024, and an interval review virtual call on April 9th, 2025. Upon review of the documentation submitted by the charter holder, board staff identified multiple compliance issues leading to marking the charter holder's operational dashboard and requiring submissions to bring the charter holder into compliance. The review identified deficiencies in maintaining current facility documentation, maintaining policies and processes related to enrollment, complying with open meeting law requirements, and displaying statutorily required website postings. Outside of the issues identified by board staff during the interval desk review, the charter holder was also out of compliance due to the following issues, which include open meeting law violations identified during review and of amendment, failure to timely submit its fiscal year 2024 annual audit, and failure to timely address the noncompliance identified by the Arizona Department of Education's Exceptional Student Services Programmatic Monitoring in fiscal year 2024 and close out its corrective action plan by the required due date. I'm available for any questions.
Board members, any questions for Cassie?
Just to clarify that this is a very long document. Thank you for your thoroughness. Please correct me if I am misreading this, but it appears that all of the concerns have since been brought into compliance. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions or clarifications? All right. Do we have a representative from the charter?
Yes, you do.
Hi, welcome.
Hi. You can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great.
Did you want to share anything with us, or do you just want to open it up
Yes,
to
I sure
questions?
do.
Okay,
I sure do.
great.
I believe that staff was not transparent in providing the school with meeting materials in a timely manner. I reached out to the staff on Tuesday afternoon in an email asking when the school could expect meeting materials for this meeting. The response was that the agenda was being finalized and we would be sent the meeting material on Wednesday. Wednesday came and went with no contact from staff. I kept looking for a message from staff on Thursday. Finally, at 2 p.m., I reached out to staff asking why the school had not received any meeting materials and whether we had been taken off the agenda, smiley face. The response was, below is the email from blank sent to you yesterday. It looks like the email address was incorrect. I will correct that in our system. Well, I've been the charter representative for this school for 16 years. I've had the same email address for those 16 years. And then 1 week before a disciplinary meeting, suddenly staff does not have my correct email in the system. My experience with sending an email to a wrong address is that I get a message back almost instantly saying that it can't be delivered. And I'm wondering if that occurred, why staff didn't send us the information. I doubt that if I had not reached out myself, that I would have even received the meeting materials by today. And also, could you take a look at the appendix that is the communication timeline, the summary of communication? I'll let you a second to get to that. Again, staff is not being transparent. I would say that the most significant communication from staff to the school for the entire year is conspicuously missing. I'm talking about the September 6, 2024 email from the staff with the subject title Fiscal Year 2024 Audit. In this email, staff informs us that the audit firm we had been using had been put on probation by the Accountancy Board. In the final sentence of that email, it says, please reach out to the audit firm directly with questions regarding the consent order and the audit firm's efforts to comply with its terms. The next day, we received a message from the audit firm, and I'll just read a couple of sentences from that. It said, I want to assure you that both steps are being taken to remedy this quickly, and it will be remedied quickly, and definitely before your audit is due to be filed. And another one, I assure you that the matter is not a complex one, and I have no concern that it will be taken care of. In early October, the audit firm informs us that they will not be reinstated in time to file the audit. We sign an engagement letter with a new firm on 10/18/2024, and the staff approves the letter of engagement on 10/21/24. Why would staff omit this communication from the public register and only include the misdated statement that on October 26th that an audit engagement had not been received by staff yet? If staff had included the September 6 communication, it would give the public and your board perspective concerning this issue. But by omitting this most relevant communication, staff misrepresents our school in the eyes of the public and the board. Because if one just looks at the misstated statement included, it makes the school looks like it's not taking audit requirements seriously. It's so unfortunate that this event occurred this year because the audit was ready for submission in time, but the new audit firm did not receive payment for the audit in time because we were so naive enough to think that the U.S. Postal Service would deliver a letter from the Verde Valley to Phoenix in 4 days. We've learned, and if we need to get the materials quickly to Phoenix in the future, we will use a next-day courier or drive it to Phoenix to hand deliver. I thought the math was that for every 2 marks of non-transparency from staff towards the school equals the removal of one of the operational performance framework measured marks against the school. Seems fair for us. Some of the findings are minute and not really relevant to our school. There were a couple of grammar oversights in our enrollment. The staff glommed onto the words complete and completely. We are a small school, rural school. We're not in any neighborhood. You access our campus off a state highway. And, sorry, it's a little. And our school has accepted 100% of the students that have wanted to enroll in our school. We don't have waiting lists. Our cap is 215. We were at 192 just before COVID, and that's decimated. We finished construction last year, and now we have 152 students. So we're increasing, and 100% of our students are either bused to school or they are driven by a private vehicle. 2 of the findings in the board the board minute issues are from FY 24, and I thought we were being reviewed for FY 25. So I'm not sure why those those issues that were identified in FY 24 were included here. And we don't have public that comes to our board meetings. One of the issues was that we didn't say when the door was open, but our board meetings are at 3:15 in the afternoon, right after school ends. That building is open, and we don't have public that comes to our board meetings. We have maybe a parent coming once or twice to make a statement and then leaving right away, but there is no public that enters. We're not in a neighborhood where somebody might come by and look and come. So I find that these findings are very, very minor, a little bit of grasping at straws to find fault where none really lives in reality. I'm open to questions.
Board members, do you have any questions either for the charter? I actually have a question for Cassie. So something that was mentioned was bringing up, I think it was data from fiscal year 22 for a 24. Can you provide a little bit of clarification on that?
President Montier,
Yes,
happy to
please.
answer that
I'm
question.
sorry. Maybe not. Okay, for they.
Yeah,
Sorry, not just
absolutely.
Cassie.
Happy to do it. Yes, and this is one of the issues that the charter representative and I had conversation about after my initial conversation with him to inform him that the charter holder would be on the agenda. So just to clarify that, for the item that I think he is referring to with regard to FY 24, it does pertain to services to students with disabilities. So the Department of Education does their ESS monitoring under exceptional student services. And it's our understanding that, yes, there was a notification that went out in, looking at numbers, October of 2023, that indicated that there was non-compliance and that the charter was in violation of the corrective action plan and that there was not progress being made. So that was in FY 24. It's our understanding then again, and I'm sorry, at that time it was marked on the dashboard. So in FY 24, the non-compliance with ESS was marked on their dashboard because they were not making progress to resolve the cap. In addition,
And I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you just to clarify. The cap was originally placed on the charter in fiscal year 22. Is that
No.
correct? Or 23?
It was
24.
in 24. Yep.
Okay, so
It's our understanding that in 24, they were not making progress towards that corrective action.
towards the corrective action plan. Okay.
And that's based on the communication that we received from the Department of Education.
Okay.
In addition, we had another communication from the Department of Education in FY 25, and that would be in November of 2024. So still school year 25, fiscal year 25, that they had still not completed their cap and were not making progress to completion of that cap, and that funds were being withheld at that time. So again, that would be another mark because, again, we're not making progress to resolving that cap, and then that's when the funds were withheld. Because of that, and I should say this is very rare. I can only remember one other time in which a charter holder was in the same situation that this school was in and not making that progress, the cap. So it was marked in FY 25 because that noncompliance persisted through FY 25. That issue was not resolved until May 2025.
I was speaking about the open meeting law, not about. I agree that we were non-compliant. Unfortunately for us, it was out of our control. Because we're a small school, we can afford one SPED provider, and we had a SPED provider for the first 16 years of the school's existence without a problem. That SPED provider unfortunately retired. We hired a SPED provider that had great credentials from the school they had come from, a special education certificate and a master's degree. And that provider had a mental breakdown, life crisis, did not complete the forms directly. The IDEA contacted us and stated that they needed to be completed correctly. We asked the provider to do that. They were not again, and then the provider never showed up after the Christmas break. Did not come back to retrieve their personal items. We reached out for them. They didn't respond, and we had to hire someone. So yes, it was true. Then we were put on CAP. There were some issues in November of FY25, and then we in the November of last year, and then the CAP was brought into was taken off. I'm talking about 2D open meeting law in the interval review. Two of those findings are, one of them is from May 20th, 2024, and one is from March 25th, 2024.
Okay, that clarifies things a
Yeah.
little bit more.
Yeah, that the meeting notice was not posted on the same day of the meeting was from March 25 of 2024. And then one set of meeting minutes do not list how all the members voted for one item was in May 20th. And that was, again, an oversight, a grammar oversight. I think what happened, it was, we were voting on the contracts of the returning teachers, and somebody put unanimous with one abstention, and I think somebody said, well, it's not unanimous if there was one abstention, and then the unanimous was taken off, and then board found that. But again, that was in the FY 2024, and I was under the impression that we were being reviewed for FY 2025.
Okay.
FY 25.
Great. That helps clarify things a little bit. So do you have some feedback about that, board staff?
President Montier, I can address the open meeting law
Wonderful,
situation.
thank you.
As is published in our interval review guidance and as is our process, when a charter is in interval review, we request 12 months, the past 12 months of open meeting law documentation. So we're looking at governing body minutes, agendas, et cetera, for the prior 12 months. So the 12 months leading up to when documentation is submitted for the review. So we review a full year's worth of minutes as part of our review. That's our published process. It's been our process for several years. So it is important to note that, yes, there are 4 issues identified in the executive summary. If you want to read them specifically, it's on page 150 of the meeting materials. 2 of those findings were from minutes from the prior fiscal year as part of that year that we review. And then 2 of the findings were for the current fiscal year, that fiscal year 25 minutes.
Okay. So I guess where I'm coming from, and I don't want to speak for board members, but it sounds like from the way that you explained things, there's been some either misunderstanding or miscommunication. And I'm not really sure where that's coming from when we're looking specifically at why something's being listed on the dashboard or email communications or those kind of things. So I don't know who to direct this question to, but could we get a little bit of clarification about communication and just a better understanding of what happened, because it seems like there's some confusion, unless anybody else has other questions. No? Okay.
Absolutely. Happy to do that. Yes, it's our understanding that when we provided the formal notification, as we do to all of the charter holders that are going to be in front of the board, that notification to the system went to an inaccurate email that we had in our system. And so, yes, he is correct that initial email did go to an incorrect email address. And then he did follow up with staff the following day, and they did provide that communication and information about where the agenda was located. The board materials, including Desert Star, it all was posted on Tuesday. And it's my understanding that he and the charter holder did get that communication in a day or so after that.
Okay. And were there other areas of confusion, or maybe, I don't know if I should say miscommunication, that were of concern to you, Mr. Sean?
I believe
just that board staff didn't include the message from September 6th that is about our audit firm that we were going to use being put on probation. Like why doesn't that Why doesn't that appear on the summary of communication? It gives the whole perspective as to why we would perhaps be late one day.
President Montier, he's correct. It is not included in the board materials, and that is something that I will take as feedback that needs to be included going forward. The typical process for that communication summary is to use the formal communications that come from the system and that really pertain to that interval review process. They're two separate teams that review that audit, and then also the team that does the interval review. And so that is a miss, and he's absolutely correct. In the executive summary, there is not that mention of the auditor, so I would take full responsibility for that.
Okay, great. So I've asked a lot of questions. Does anybody else have any questions at all? Okay, all right.
It's now good afternoon.
Yes, it is.
Thank you for being here with us this afternoon and sharing your concerns and frustrations. In moving forward, or in looking at moving forward, you mentioned being a small open enrollment school, which I respect. We also are an open enrollment school. So based on your numbers and based on the probably most significant concern here, right, which was the special services, the ESS through ADE, if, this coming school year, you have a student with really extreme needs, come in, are you positioned for that, both from a financial perspective and then from a staffing perspective, how you might approach, upcoming special service ESS type needs within your school community?
Yes, we do. We have a good SPED provider now. We have some parapro helps.
Thank you.
And I think the concern was also for forms. So what is the process for making sure that all of the documentation is done correctly for special education?
It was just the word completely. It on the enrollment form, it said, fill this form completely. But if you know parents, like nobody fills a form completely. And it wasn't on our radar because we've accepted every student that's wanted to enroll here. And because we don't have an attorney on staff here, we didn't have somebody looking at that. So there were no students or parents' rights that were abused because every parent that's wanted to enroll their child at our school has been able to enroll their child at our school. It's kind of was a little bit like a moot point. It's true, it was there and it shouldn't have been there, but we weren't abiding by it, and nobody was inhibited from enrolling at our school if they wanted to. I mean, we have students that drive half an hour to come to our school. We're a little jewel of the community. The federal government loves us. They've invested millions and millions of dollars into our campus, and we have financial responsibilities and obligations to them. And we intend to run this charter school for the next 30 or 40 years.
So I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate that. I do want to just put it out there as something to think about since you are receiving state money. The challenge that you run into is that if it's not transparent, which it sounds like it wasn't, you might know that as a school, and maybe the people that attend your school know that. But if somebody from the outside comes in and sees that there's a lack of transparency, that's where there ends up being a challenge. And there's a lot involved in special education as well. So that's just a concern on my end that the corrective action plan was in place for a few years.
No, it wasn't.
Well, there was non-compliance.
Not a few years, just 1 year.
Okay, but there was non-compliance, and it seems like from what you're saying, it was something that could have been handled fairly quickly, and it wasn't. It wasn't resolved quickly.
Okay.
So these are just things to think about. I understand what you're saying. And I'm not saying that your school isn't a jewel of the community. It's fantastic. And I think that you serve an incredible need, but I think that there's also accountability that's important to note as well. Accountability on the board's end, accountability on your end. And I think that was the area of concern right now. So
how does a staff or a board or handle having one SPED provider and that SPED provider not being well mentally or have a life crisis? That, I mean, it was unfortunate. It was out of our control, and then we were able to find a SPED provider that year, and that was really difficult to find somebody in the middle of a year. There aren't very many SPED providers around here.
I understand and I respect that. As somebody who has been in special education for over 20 years, I understand how important that is. Coming from a small school where we only had one SPED provider, and that was me. I also understand how important that is. However, I'm also saying that there is an accountability there, and there have to be some safeguards put into place. It can't all fall on one person. So I hope that you have had some safeguards put into place to address some of those things, because it's required by law.
Yes, yes. Oh, I don't doubt that at least 3 of these are legitimate. But 3 of them are like, oh, I don't know, a little bit harsh.
Oh, there was somebody. Okay. Was Christine? Do you have your hand up? I'm sorry. I was not looking at my apologies, Christine.
No, that's fine. You actually asked the question.
Oh,
I was going to ask it, and I don't know that I have clarity. I don't know that I have clarity that you've taken anything. I don't have clarity that you are preparing for if the situation happens again. What stopgap measures have you put in place so that this doesn't happen again?
We have a stable SPED provider at the moment. I mean,
so if something were to happen to that SPED provider, like, do you have any checks and balances there? Is there anybody else who can say, hey, this part wasn't done, we need to make sure we look at this? Those are kinds of things I guess I'm looking for.
Yeah, I don't know how to
see if
answer
you
that
have
question.
those kinds of things in place.
We've been taken off CAP. It occurred once in the 18 years of our life. CAP has been removed, and I don't see a problem going forward. And we didn't have a problem for 16 years with one sole SPED provider. I don't see, we have a good SPED provider now, and I don't see it being an issue for the years to come either.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No? Okay, with that, do we have someone that would like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a couple of comments first.
Okay.
First of all, I just want to say I appreciate the inquisitive, empathetic, and informed questions and comments of my fellow board members online, here and there. And I also want to recognize the hard work of both the charter holder and the staff. And given that all of the issues were pretty much resolved, I was inclined actually to take no action. But in order to foster more transparency and better communication between all the parties, I'm going to make a motion for a consent agreement. I move to find that Desert Star Community School, hereinafter referred to in this motion as the charter holder, has failed to meet the operational performance expectations set forth in the board's operational performance framework and has violated its charter contract and state and federal law. These failures and violations provide a sufficient basis to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter holder's contract. However, the board is authorized to exercise its legal discretion with regard to actions taken against the charter holder that is not in compliance with its charter, other obligations to the board, and state and federal law. In an effort to bring the charter holder into compliance, the board directs staff to work with legal counsel to develop a consent agreement that addresses the charter holder's noncompliance identified in today's materials. The terms of the agreement shall be consistent with the terms set forth in previous consent agreements between the board and other charter holders for failure to comply with the board's operational performance expectations. I further move that the board authorize the board president to approve and sign the consent agreement executed by the charter holder without it being brought before the entire board for approval at a subsequent meeting. If the charter holder chooses not to accept the terms of the consent agreement developed by board staff and the board's legal counsel, or an executed copy of the consent agreement, along with governing board minutes approving the consent agreement, are not received by the date specified by board staff, then it is the board's decision that the charter holder be placed on a future agenda for consideration of a motion to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter holder's charter contract for the reasons already specified.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley, can we get a roll call, please?
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Ms. Barr,
Real quick, I would just like to say, the buck stops with you. So, yeah, it's unfortunate incidences occur, but I think that coming into the meeting and assigning blame to everyone but yourself and your board, maybe in the future, if you have some understanding of the position you are in, I think you might find a more sympathetic board, and I vote aye.
Dr. Crockett,
I echo Ms. Barr's comments and vote aye.
Ms. Foster,
Sorry, aye.
Mr. Snyder,
Aye.
President Montiers.
I turned myself off. I would just like to echo Vice President Close's comments. I do appreciate the fact that everybody put a lot of time and effort into coming into compliance. It does sound like there were some communication challenges, so I do think that this is the best course of action, and I vote aye.
With that, motion passes.
May I make a request that we take a brief recess, please? Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Aye.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started in about a minute to let all board members to get back on and logged in. President Montier, we're ready to start.
Okay, thank you all so much for that break. I apologize for running out on you.
If we can take a roll call. just
Yes,
make sure
ma'am.
everyone's-
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. All right, Ashley.
Vice President Close.
Here.
Here.
Miss Barr.
Here.
Dr. Crockett.
Here.
Miss Foster.
Here.
Mr. Snyder.
Here.
President Montier.
Here.
All right, you're all here and we have a quorum.
Lovely. Then you're all here to hear me say thank you again for the break. All right, moving on to agenda item K, fiscal year 26 audit documents. And let me get my paper, please. Presentation by Andrea. Again, hello. Good afternoon this time.
Good afternoon, President Montiers, members of the board. For the fiscal year 2026 audit cycle, staff is recommending revisions to the board's audit guidelines, legal compliance questionnaire, and USFRCS compliance questionnaire to align language with current requirements and to further clean up the documents. During the first opportunity for public comment, which closed on August 24th, no comments were received on the proposed changes. Today's meeting provides the second opportunity for public comment. Historically, when the board has initiated substantive changes to its audit documents, efforts have been made to approve the changes early in the fiscal year to allow charters and their audit firms to plan accordingly. This is why the board is considering these changes today and not in the spring. The final audit documents for fiscal year 2026, including changes made by the Arizona Auditor General, will likely be considered and approved by the board at its May 2026 meeting. I'm available for questions.
Board members, any questions? No? All right. If there are no questions, is there an action that we need to? Yes. All right. That's what I thought. Do we have a motion?
I will make one. I move to adopt the changes to the board's audit guidelines, legal compliance questionnaire, and USFRCS compliance questionnaire found in the board materials. I'm doing the right one, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And present it today and direct staff to make necessary changes to other relevant documents to reflect the action at this meeting. I further move that these changes be implemented with the fiscal year 2026 audits.
It's absolutely your vote, so you get to decide. Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Wonderful. Ashley, we're ready for a roll call.
Vice President Close.
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller.
Aye.
Miss Barr.
Aye.
Dr. Crockett.
Aye.
Miss Foster.
Aye.
Mr. Snyder.
Aye.
President Montier.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Lovely. All right. Agenda item L, academic framework, annual review, presentation by Joanna. Good afternoon, Joanna. Hey, and thank you for that video. That was amazing.
You're welcome. Good afternoon, President Montier, Vice President Close, Superintendent Designee Miller, and board members. Today, I will present the annual review of the academic performance framework. This review is more than a procedural check. It's a strategic opportunity to assess how well our framework is serving the portfolio. Performance trends from fiscal year 22 through fiscal year 24 were analyzed. Based on the findings, staff recommends no changes to the framework at this time, emphasizing the need for continued data collection and research. Next slide. Key trends. We've seen a strong upward trend in academic ratings, especially in the exceed standard category. the removal of the CSI, Comprehensive School Improvement, TSI, Targeted School Improvement Indicators in October 23rd, corrected performance misclassifications, and improved rating accuracy. However, we also need to acknowledge that about 10% of schools weren't rated due to low student counts. This is a concern around balanced evaluation across the portfolio. Schools without ratings represent a blind spot. These are often small or specialized schools, and while their size limits traditional metrics, these schools still warrant thoughtful evaluation. Next slide. Timing and process updates. This year, academic dashboards were released in February, and its timing is due to ADE's, Arizona Department of Education's, appeals process. I'm sorry, that's the State Board of Education's appeals process. Since it ends in late January, for the fiscal year 2025 academic dashboards, we will adapt by publishing preliminary dashboards a few weeks after the appeals deadline in November, and wait until the appeals are considered by SBE in late January to publish the final dashboards. This approach balances transparency with accuracy and will continue refining as needed. Next slide. School closures and what the data shows. While we often focus on academic performance as a leading indicator of school success, the data tells a different story. Closures occurred across all rating levels, including schools rated exceed standard. Based on this finding, we reviewed the financial and operational performance for the schools that closed at the end of fiscal year 25. What emerged as the most consistent predictor of the closure was financial performance, either rated as it does not meet or an intervention based on the fiscal year 24 audits. This reinforces the need to view sustainability through a broader lens. Academic ratings remain essential, but they don't tell the full story. Operational compliance, while important, didn't distinguish schools that closed from those that remained open. And schools without an academic overall rating made up a quarter of the closures. And next slide. This is my last slide. We're recommending no changes to the framework this year. It's functioning as intended. Instead, we recommend focusing our efforts on deeper strategic questions. How do consent agreements impact long-term outcomes? What can we learn from successful turnaround schools? How do we strengthen oversight for schools that fall outside traditional metrics? And how do we translate best practices into actionable policy or guidance that supports both straightening oversight and supporting school sustainability? And I'm here if you have any questions.
That was very thorough. Thank you so much. Any questions?
I have one. I don't know is a perfectly thank you. Oversight for small schools, obviously seeing the bar graph and everything, that is a significant percentage of schools that have been closed. Has staff or anyone sort of thrown out any ideas for this oversight for smaller schools, or is it we're still kind of in the processing stage? Is there anything as the board we can do in regards to state law? I would like more information about that if you have any.
Yeah, what I can tell you, and then I can send it over to Ashley, is that we're still doing the research as to why these small, because we do have small schools that are successful, but then we have small schools that are also closing and that don't have a rating, right? And so one of the things we're seeing is we do have K-2 schools, but again, needing to look at their performance levels, right? How are they doing from year to year? All of that data still needs to be taken into consideration. And also understanding whether they still want to stay K-2 or maybe move up to K-3. There are very few of them, not many, but it's still part of that. Then we have schools that are just, for example, some schools, their end count is low because these could be alternative schools or online schools that already don't have high enrollment. And with that, they're only getting at least just a few students that are taking that exam. And so there's a variety of things that we could propose in the end. I'm not saying that this is what I would propose, but we've had a lot of success with the school-specific academic goals. when it comes to schools that are in those specific goals, right? They're serving a high population of English language learners. And so it's a very small set, high special education and students experiencing homelessness. So there's something to look at from the data that we've incurred from schools that are on those goals and how successful it's been to measure their outcomes, whether good or bad. So that's something, again, that we can look at if that's what we think is warranted for these small schools. And when I say oversight here, particularly in this slide presentation, it's really about, how do we thoughtfully evaluate them? How do we look at them so that we're making sure that we're measuring exactly what they're about and understand why is it that they don't fit into these metrics. So those are just some of the viewpoints that I've shared, as well as been shared with me by other authorizers that also deal with small schools within their portfolio.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and just to add to what Joanna said, because that's absolutely correct, is looking at what we can do, right? We don't know all the answers at this point. But as Kelly alluded to, the State Board of Education is undergoing a big review of the A through F models. In past iterations of A through F, there were additional models, and one of those models was for small schools. So that is also, if that comes to fruition, that may potentially be something that we can use as well. But I think as of right now, consistent with this recommendation, it's like, let's just continue researching it. Let's figure out what's out there and what other authorizers are doing so that we can, quite frankly, understand these schools a little bit better and understand their data more.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ms. Miller, who wants to go first?
I'm going to piggyback on what was just said. So then, I don't
Okay,
know.
and then are we
Go for it.
piggybacking again?
No, shall I just ask?
Well, let's have Ms. Miller, she's piggybacking on that. So let's do that and then we'll, yeah, okay. All right.
Thank you. Thank you for that question and for these comments. I don't think I qualify specifically as a small school in my community, but we're pretty small. And so I'd just like to throw into this conversation that I think sometimes that path to closure involves some of the compliance pieces, because if you're wearing a bunch of hats in a very small community, it's almost impossible to get to them all and keep the fidelity of your program, the innovation, keep the focus on what really matters. So thank you for the thoughtfulness of this presentation and the work that I always know goes into ensuring that, any changes or future revisions, respect that, because sometimes when we're trying to get to accountability, it involves layers of compliance that are really hard on the small guys. So thank you. Thanks for letting me jump in.
And Dr. Crockett.
Joanna, I just have a question. What was the range of data year-wise that you were looking at?
So when I conducted this annual review, it was based on looking at our overall ratings from fiscal year 22 all the way through fiscal year 25. And that's where I was able to kind of notice that there were some schools that had not been rated in that group. In addition, when I was looking at the schools that had closed in fiscal year 25, I looked at academic performance for fiscal year 24. I did look at operational performance for fiscal year 25, and then at financial performance for fiscal year 24.
I wonder if you think it would be worthwhile to look at the financial piece of that at any rate farther back. What do you think?
So this review, right, is based on the policy that was approved back in oh my gosh, in October of 2023. Yes. So, and so this is really part of that review that we're conducting. And so, Andrea conducted her financial performance review, or conducted this same sort of performance review as well back in August of 2024. And so, it could be that we consider looking at financial performance, but she had already conducted that for this past year. And so I haven't had any conversations currently with Andrea in regards to like looking at more financial performance.
Hi, John, you didn't hear anything either? Okay. Okay, thought it was just me. Oh,
No,
Professor
as a member of board staff, I got knocked out too. So here we go.
Oh, we're back. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Hold on one sec. Hold on one second. I think our Zoom just ended, but it's back up.
Can we, yeah, I think we should do a roll call just to make sure that at least our online people are here. Should we just check in? They are both? Yes? Okay. Hi, can you hear us? Great. Okay. We're super good. I want to piggyback on kind of what everybody was saying. I think it's important to note too that, particularly with our academic framework, that part of our job hinders or is not hinders. It's in conjunction with State Board of Ed and Arizona Department of Ed as well. And so if they are going through an A through F letter grade sort of review, that's going to trickle down and it will impact us as well eventually, is my understanding. And so that makes sense why Joanna is recommending that we kind of just hold for right now. I do find the idea of the multiple measures very interesting. I would like to see it flushed out a little bit more just because we have a really great example. So I'm going to say the name wrong, the Autism Academy, is that correct?
Arizona Autism.
Arizona Autism. Thank you. Yes, I know they've kind of pioneered that. And so we have a really great example, which I think is nice. And then specifically when we're looking at K2, there are measures for growth, like Move On with Reading and things like that. But we want to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples. And I think that's very hard, is what I'm understanding from the presentation, because district schools aren't doing the same thing. And so if we're trying to do, when Shannon was presenting and she was talking about the 2 and the 5 mile radius and we don't have data to compare, that makes it hard, especially with our K-2 schools. So it's just a lot of work on your part, and great job, I think, so far for what's going on. And it's going to be interesting to see what the Arizona Department of Education does, what the State Board of Education does, and then how we can then all work together to make this effective and an accurate representation, right, of academic review. So, but financial definitely and operational are part of it. And I don't want to discount anything that you said, because also being from a small school and wearing lots of hats, it is a challenge. So, but thank you for putting all that time and effort in. It's really important to us. Okay. Do we have any other comments? Then do we have a motion?
It's kind of anticlimactic. Good job. I move to direct staff to move forward with proposed recommendations found in the board materials and presented today.
Do we have a second? I'm just kidding. I wasn't going to do it that fast. Do we have a second?
Second.
Oh, Dr. Crockett. All right, Ashley.
Vice President Close.
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller.
Aye.
Ms. Farr.
Aye.
Dr. Crockett.
Aye.
Ms. Foster.
Aye.
Mr. Snyder.
Aye.
President Monteith.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right. We are moving on to, thank you so much, Joanna, by the way. Moving on to agenda item L. And, oh, just kidding. Sorry, I'm all over the place. Grading system model for school specific. Oh, we kind of talked about this a little bit. It was a preview. Grading system model for school specific academic goals dashboard. I think that's you again, right, Joanna? It's the Joanna show right now.
A little bit, yep.
President Monteith, Vice President Close, Superintendent Designee Miller, and board members. Today, I will walk you through the SSIG School-Specific Academic Goal Academic Dashboard, a tool designed to support oversight of schools serving specialized student populations on school-specific academic goals. Our SSAG policy is designed to support schools serving high concentrations of student populations that are not fully captured by traditional accountability metrics, specifically students receiving special education services English language learners, and those experiencing homelessness. By offering a tailored specialized evaluation framework, SSAG ensures that these schools are assessed fairly and rigorously, with recognition of the unique challenges and strengths they bring to our charter landscape. The dashboard was long coming and developed to align with our current academic performance framework through calculating an overall rating for schools on SSAGs, as we do with our traditional and alternative schools that are assigned a letter grade annually. The SSAG dashboard offers a tailored, rigorous, and transparent way to ensure accountability and consistency while giving schools and the board the ability to monitor performance with clarity and confidence. Next slide. Development and design. The SSAG was built through collaboration. The timeline reflects our thoughtful design, stakeholder engagement, and strategic alignment. After researching authorizers that use SSAGs, we partnered with external data experts and engaged school leaders throughout the process. Focus groups helped us understand how to maintain transparency through the complexities of the goals. We prioritize usability and clarity, so the dashboard is not only technically sound, but also accessible to both staff and stakeholders. This evolving design process reflects our commitment to transparency and responsiveness. Next slide. So here we go. The dashboard tracks school-specific academic goals and displays performance through scorecards and year-over-year comparisons. We use differentiated grading models, weighted models. K-8 schools are evaluated on ELA, math, and engagement. High schools include post-secondary readiness as well. Each metric is weighted to reflect its impact. The schools receive ratings from exceed standard all the way through falls far below. This structure allows us to evaluate schools fairly based on the populations that they serve and the goals that they set. Next slide. And this is the model that we use for schools that are serving 9-12. So once again, we have ELA, math, engagement, and then post-secondary readiness. Next slide. Scoring system. Schools earn up to 100 points based on how many students meet their academic goals. Bonus points are awarded for exceeding expectations. This level of detail helps us understand not just outcomes, but progress and momentum of these schools and these goals. Next slide. Implementation. The dashboard will be publicly accessible through a link on the charter holders page on ASBCS Online and will be reviewed annually alongside the academic performance framework. It's designed to evolve based on feedback, ensuring that it remains relevant and effective. For board members, SSAG empowers data-informed decisions, whether we're considering renewals, expansions, or interventions. It enhances our ability to support schools while upholding high standards and promoting fairness across our portfolio. Ultimately, it's a tool that helps us lead with both rigor and empathy. And I'm here if you have any questions.
Board members? Yes, Ms. Miller?
Yes, thank you so much for this presentation. On the elementary model, I noticed that engagement looks to be weighted heavier than the ELA and the math, if I read that correctly. What goes into the engagement goals? What do those look like?
So the engagement goals can look very differently, but in the ones that we have created for certain schools, engagement can be, for example, attendance to particular events. It can be based on even parental attendance and student attendance. For example, when you've got data meetings. So the reason that we did incorporate and gave for elementary schools, right, that 40% is because we're already dedicating 60% to that core instruction, to the ELA and the math. And so with the engagement levels, then we definitely ensure that we have at least one or two engagement goals that address that. Because we do work with an external data expert on these goals, we do make sure that this is information that they have been collecting, let's say for the past 3 years, so that we can look at how they've been collecting that data and what are some of the levels that they're getting and the ratings that they're getting from that in order for us to create the goal. So truly this engagement goal has to really look based on their program of instruction and their mission, because that's kind of what they're about. So for example, with AZ Autism, they track engagement by these checklists that they have. And so through those checklists that they're checking daily, we've been able to create a goal that their students can achieve, not necessarily achieve, but a goal that's going to address as to whether they are meeting or not meeting on engagement. But before we did that, we actually had to look at least 3 years of data of them utilizing that particular tool and the data that goes behind it to ensure that we've got enough students that are actually doing that. In the case of AZ Autism, that's across the board for all of their schools. I think they call them PBAs, but it's based on their behavioral analysis programs. So I can't answer the question specifically about what goes into the engagement goals, but we make sure that they're rigorous. We make sure that it's something that they're already doing, not that they're deciding, oh, well, I'm going to go ahead and do a student survey and that'll do it. It doesn't, the process doesn't work that way.
I have a question. How much of this is going to be self-reporting from the schools, and how much of that is going to be additional workload for board staff?
So the SSAG policy, when you approve those schools, they provide us both their narrative and also their business rules. And along with those business rules, they also provide us the reports that they're going to provide us. So that's where the self-reporting to some degree happens. They provide those reports, those data reports that show us the students that are being assessed, who is meeting which goal, and how they got to that final outcome. Let's say they got to 81% and that meets. And so obviously when it's in a smaller scale, that's something that I can easily review. But then we also have incorporated our data expert to assist us with reviewing the data to ensure that what their data shows is actually accurate for the overall percentage that they have reached. But in addition to that, we also visit the school and we do look at the data system that's in place as well as the reports that come out.
Thank you.
So do these goals happen to, I don't know, be in alignment or pertain to comprehensive needs assessments that the schools do, and then the integrated action plan that we're required to do for ADE? Because we do have to write goals for ELA and for math, and then there are some extra goals that are additional, they're not required. And so I was just wondering kind of how it aligns with those expectations, and more looking at it from some of these smaller schools that with administrators that wear a lot of hats and things like that, because it sounds like there's oversight on the part of the board staff, which is fantastic, and that these goals need to be targeted and measurable and all of those things, which is fantastic, as they should be. And so I was just kind of wondering where the balance is for everybody, because we are going to have to sell this to the cheap seats too, right? So,
right.
Yeah.
When you're referring to the additional, what did you call it? The IAP? No,
the integrated action plan. Yeah. So
Are
every
those
year
for-
we have to do a comprehensive needs assessment. Public schools have to do a comprehensive needs assessment. It's a very lengthy document. You meet with all your stakeholders and rate yourself. And then from that rating, and then based on the data that the ADE provides, we write integrated action plans. And those integrated action plans have to be approved and tied to our funding and our budget. So I'm not saying that all of that has to happen, but I'm just wondering if there's a way to kind of, like, I hate to use the phrase kill two birds with one stone, but is there a way to bring them both together so that we can have, like, if I'm tracking this goal for ELA on my integrated action plan, can it also be the same goal for the state or the board staff? Is that manageable? Just because I feel like otherwise we're going to just be chasing paperwork a lot, and that would be very difficult for some schools. Other schools, not so much. So,
Yeah.
and board staff too.
Correct. Yeah. Well, the quick answer is yes, because when I first started working on the school specific academic goals, we were working with a school that was, and I know it in the terms of this school was in school improvement. And so through school improvement, we knew that they had goals under their integrated action plan that they had. So we made sure to really look at those goals and see how those apply. And really it could be the school's choice. they could tell us, no, we don't mind providing this data for ADE for this purpose, but we really want to create these goals. Or they could say, we have these goals under the IAP, and we would like to integrate these goals. How can we make that work? And so then we work with them to ensure that we do that. So in some cases, so one of the benefits, at least that one of our schools has seen, is that the goals that they have created for themselves for the school really has benefited them overall in other aspects, whether it would be applying for additional funding in certain places. And so those goals tend to be looked at more rigorous than, let's say, their goals that they may have had under a different process. So it really is up to the school. But yes, we can definitely find ways to integrate them. Yeah, because we wouldn't want them. I mean, that's normally the first thing that I encourage. Are you under this? But I didn't realize all schools were. So thank you for that.
Well, it's just, yeah, that school improvement is its own entity. But yes, we do all have to do goals, and then it's looked at by a monitor and so on and so forth. So I think that sounds great. It sounds like something that as public entities, we're already doing something similar. So this shouldn't be theoretically that much more work, right? So that's great. And it gives us a way to compare between district and charter schools, because district schools have to do the same thing too. Just put that out there. No? Okay. Online? We're still good, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. If there's nobody else, do we have a motion?
Yeah, real quick comment. I was mentioning to Ashley offline that it's been like night and day in terms of the efficacy of the board since I've joined it, all attributable to the staff, so I really appreciate seeing the always improving structure and support of the from the staff. So having said that, I move that the board adopt the grading system model for the school-specific academic goals dashboard as presented today.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Lovely. Can we get a roll call, please?
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Ms. Barr,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Mr. Snyder,
Aye.
President Montier.
Just a comment before we go. Joanna, you are fantastic. And I only grill because I care, not because I was trying to be cruel in any way, shape, or form. So, and with that, aye.
Motion passes.
All right. On to, if my alphabet is correct, and Ms. Barr will let me know if I'm not, agenda item N, summary of current events. Yeah. Okay. Ashley.
The only current event, I guess, their future meeting date, which is October 7th. So,
All
that I
right.
have to report for this item.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Then on to item O, adjournment. Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe, everybody.